let the people file in, see if they're coming today, see if they're not. We're waking up in the Moose Lodge. We're getting there slow. Some of us were born to be great. Others, I don't know, man. Turn that down. All right. So we're going to start with Deuteronomy 32, 28, and 29. They are a nation without sense. There is no discernment in them. If only they were wise and would understand this. Come on, man. Don't use lyrics. Broadcasting excellence. Turn this down even more. All right, we're going back to Deuteronomy 32, 28, 29. They are a nation without sense. There is no discernment in them. If only they were wise and would understand this and discern what their end will be. People don't understand what's going on. People don't seem to care. People don't seem to pay attention to shit. This is how it started. This is how I ended up being on YouTube. This is how I ended up on the Paul and Slave show for a while. And it all started with me being frustrated with the fact that nobody gives a shit. Nobody wants to hear the truth about what's going on. Nobody wants to pay attention about the fucking the clouds in the sky that don't even look like clouds anymore. I mean, when you see planes going loop-de-loop in the sky and making these fucking lines out there, and you don't care, it's like, I've talked to a couple people about it, and they were like, well, what can I do about it? Why should I care? Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. That the serenity prayer comes in there, you know. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? But at the same time, when you ignore all the problems that are going on in the world, how are we ever supposed to get through them? You know, we've got rising prices on food coming up. We've got, we got World War on the horizon. We've got some bullshit, stories about, let's turn this music off. This shit's killing me. So we got these bullshit stories going on about balloons going over the United States, being spy balloons. Like they didn't know what was going to happen. The smoke and mirrors is everywhere. We had the Grammys last week. We got Homeboy singing in his devil costume with his whores. And nobody seems to give a shit. Nobody seems to care. Everybody just sits there, and the people that watch that shit, they continue to watch it. I don't watch that shit anymore. I stopped watching a long time ago. I'll get like a clip or something from somebody on here on YouTube, and from there I kind of like use my own sense of discernment. I've always known that the world is pretty fucking fake. When I was in high school, no, it actually started when I was a kid. When my mom would lie to me about smoking pot, I knew she was smoking, and there's nothing wrong with smoking pot. I knew the Easter Bunny wasn't real. I knew Santa Claus wasn't real. I've always had this mind where I want to know, like I want to know the truth, because when you're living a lie, how can you be happy with that? How can you be happy with half truths and all that shit? Now, I've gotten to the point where I've kind of given it up to the creator, and I don't have to know how things happen. I don't have to know why things happen. Um, I just like to observe and kind of like move forward. Um, I'm going to be, what's up, Abnorm? I'm going to be out here and I'm going to have my garden growing, and that my channel is going to be based on what I'm doing with the hotel, how I'm serving other people, um, just the business life in general, how stressful it might be. Maybe throw some tips and tricks out there for people to make a little money on the side with the Airbnb or something. Um, but it really comes down to like we need to get our hands in the dirt, folks. We need to get our shit together. We need to get our house in order. We need to stop worrying about saving the world right now. We need to save ourselves, and it's not going to happen if we're all starving. It's really frustrating to me when I'm talking about, hey, check this out. Like inflation has risen so much. I worked at a little market last year for a couple months. Literally a couple months, and every Monday I'd go into work and they'd be like, "Hey, do you mind putting the tags on the shelves?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, fuck it. I'll do whatever," because my wife was pregnant and I was two minutes away from the house. Um, if at any time, my wife was having the baby, it was like, "Oh, I'm gonna just hop in the car and I'm gone," you know. Um, and every Monday, prices would go up, and I'd come home and I'd be a little nervous about it. I'd be like, "Hey, honey, did Reynolds Wrap went up $3 today?" She goes, "Oh, it is what it is. Like, we can't change that stuff." But we may not be able to change that, right? We may not be able to change the fact that inflation is coming. We may not be able to change the fact that like higher prices are on the coming. It's literally we're going to be priced out of all kinds of shit because there is only so much in the world, and our money is being devalued every single day. And when our money's being devalued, that means our purchasing power goes down. Now, when our purchasing power goes down, what do you think is going to happen, folks? All those products are going to be shipped somewhere else. If they can't get the money that they want from us, they're going to get it from someone else. They're going to start shipping that stuff to Europe, China, countries that are richer than us, countries that produce this shit. Maybe they won't even ship it to us anymore. So the thing is instead of being worried about it, why not prepare? Why not do something about it? Why not, you know, be ahead of the game instead of behind the game? If we're playing chess, stop playing checkers. We should at least use our ability to discern, uh, to help us, like people that like us that can see. If you can see what's going on, then you have to do something about it. If you just sit here and you waste your fucking time and you sit there on the internet all day long, and these streams are great, right? And I miss like the camaraderie and stuff. I'm gonna throw the link down there soon, and hopefully a couple people want to come up and say hi. But I have come to the realization that me spending 8 hours a day on a stream and just being a jackass and just making jokes and stuff is not going to help my life. It's not going to help me get where I need to go. I need to focus on the shit that I need to focus on. Like, I have a chicken coop on the way. I got the wood already, like, it's already coming. I've got a friend who's going to help me build it. I just got to get back to Maine. Um, and we're about to hit the road next week, and that's going to be a long, long journey again. And so we got this chicken coop coming, and I'm going to learn how to raise chickens. You know, I don't expect everybody out there to do the same thing. I don't expect you guys to like have to do animal husbandry or whatever. But what I do expect is like, people like ERM. He's saying he's got his onion seedlings going. You know, if even if you live in an apartment, you've got to have some way. You got a window. You can grow in a bucket. If you've got a balcony, you can grow carrots, you can grow potatoes, you can grow all kinds of shit, dude. I grew bok choy, and it was just like, it was fucking amazing. It was amazing, dude. I paid $3 and I got 6 bok choy plants. And those bok choy plants, I let one go to seed. Now I have thousands of seeds. My goal this year is to start a free seed company kind of thing. Not a seed company, but a seed co-op or whatever you want to call it. You know, with the thing with words and stuff like that is I'm terrible. I'm terrible with words and I, you know, that's just one of my things. I'm getting better at it. I'm not terrible at it. I'm getting better at it. So I want to start a seed co-op kind of thing where people can go and say, hey, you know, I've got pumpkin seeds. These are all organic heirloom pumpkin seeds. And I say, hey, dude, I got bok choy. I've got some basil. I got some key lime basil. That's pretty sick. Like it smells like limes. It's absolutely phenomenal. Stuff like that, dude. And then I start sending them out to everybody, you know, and I've got tons of marijuana seeds. I've got probably like 10,000 seeds right now that I'm sitting on that I created. I created them with my own two hands. Okay, and I want to give them out. I want to share them with people. You know, tomato seeds. I've got tons of tomatoes, different kinds. You know, I've got the someone's down there. He says, I have some great Cherokee tan pumpkin seeds for you. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, dude. I've got the purple Cherokee tomato. I've got the what are those little ones? Sun kissed or something tomatoes. Dude, I literally grew so much stuff last year, and a lot of it was like it ran me ragged, dude. It ran me ragged because I was spending at least 2 hours in the garden every single day. Every single day I was out there doing it. My wife was kind of frustrated with me, but the thing is you have to know how to lead your family. You have to know how to lead your family. If you're a man, you have to know. You know, you have to step up. You have to say, look, this is what's going on. This is how we're going to fix it. If you don't have the fucking balls to do that, then you're not a man. Okay. And, you know, there's a lot of people out there that's like, oh, you shouldn't, you know, this, you know, Paul shouldn't tell you what a man is, or this guy shouldn't tell you what a man is, and blah, 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 blah. Well, if you're afraid of everything and you're not fucking stepping your game up, well, somebody's got to tell you that you're not stepping your game up. If someone sees weakness in your armor, that you know, if they tell kicking me out of my own stream again, fucking hate you guys, StreamYard. Stop doing this to me. You're supposed to love me. You're supposed to help me out, not hurt me. I'm gonna throw the link down here. All right, I'm back. I'm back. You know, you like the thing is, man, is we've got to be able to lead our families and we've got to know what's right. If you have discernment, if you know what's going on in the world, if you see the you know, degeneration going on, you see the corruption, you see all this fucking bullshit going on, you at least have to do something about it. And we could be proactive about it or we could be reactive about it. And I'm sitting here saying, dude, we got to be proactive about it. We got Watch the Collapse down there. He's saying learning to forage will help just as much. And that's true. That is so true. And knowing what I honestly like suggest is if you know somebody who knows about foraging, you hold them close and you go out there and you learn from them. You know, the mentorship thing is the way I learn. I learned through mentorship so much faster. I've learned to run companies. I've learned to deal, you know, cards. You know, I was one of the dealers that became a pit boss within 8 months. That's unheard of in the industry because I had a good mentor. But that shit is not going to help us in the collapse. We got to get out there and we got to learn the different mushrooms. We got to know what we can eat, what we can't eat. The different plants like stinging nettle. Um, you know, there's all kinds of like you know, daffodils and stuff that you can actually make tea with, and the root you can use the root for coffee. um, there's just so much information out there. And yeah, definitely we got here, let's throw that up. We've all been taught that abundant resources are bad: dandelions, thistles, stinging nettle, and they're all superfoods. And you know why you're told that they're bad? You're told they're bad, and you're told that everything scarcity is because they want you to go to the store and they want you to buy that stupid bag of chips or buy your children some cereal that has all kinds of heavy metals in it. It's got so much sugar in it that they wonder why your kids can't fucking sit still. I mean, come on, dude. Come on. Like my sister even got me kind of pissed off about this because she's up at our we were at the house in South Lake Tahoe, right? And they came up for the weekend, and she busts out the sugariest motherfucking cereal that I've ever seen. I'm like, are you kidding me? You expect these kids to just sit there and be calm and collected when you're fucking pumping them full of sugar? Like, come on, man. Come on, dude. And we've got people that I've got people that have been getting pissed off at me like, why are you going back on Paul's show? Why are you giving Jack Talcott shit and stuff? Okay, well, why do I go on Paul's show? Why? Because I saw something there that I seen a long time ago, and that's a place where we can speak our minds, speak our hearts, and you don't have to be a dick there. You can literally come into the room and you can say whatever you want to say. If you want to be that asshole, like, every once in a while I become that asshole. If you want to be like that, be like that. If that's how you choose to live your life, go ahead. But you don't have to go there and do that. You can go up there and you can talk about farming. You can talk about whatever you want. And it's like, you know, it's one of those things, dude. I went through a month of bullshit, right? Month of bullshit where I was struggling and wrestling with my own thoughts and my own like emotional, like whatever you want to call it, distress or um, and because I got to a point where I was like putting in so much time. I was putting in so much time and so much energy and so much time and energy. Eventually you're gonna want something. Yeah, he was playing the 50 Cent audiobook the other day, right? And it was talking about that. It was like, well, if you have people around you and you're rising and you keep getting resources and stuff like that, well, you got to start handing them out to the people that are around you. Otherwise they're going to get kind of, they're going to turn their back on you. They're going to start backbiting. They're going to start, running away and just causing bullshit, right? Well, that's kind of what I hit, dude. I hit a point where, he saw some weaknesses in my life and I didn't want to shore up the weaknesses. I didn't want to face, my demons. I didn't want to like admit to the fact that like maybe I wasn't being as respected as in my family as I should be. And that's where I had to step my game up. And so as I'm learning to work on myself, I'm also learning to be a better person. I'm learning to focus on my family a little more. I'm doing things in moderation, So you're not going to see me here doing 24-hour streams. You're not going to see me here, you know, begging for attention from people. Like if people come, they come. If they don't, they don't. Like I'm not going to sit here and play the fool for everyone all day long. I might do it for a little bit. I might have fun with it, but there's a lot of like reason to it. Like I love socializing with people that have open minds. I love socializing with people that can talk about this shit in the world because there's hardly anybody who wants to talk about it, and the truth community is so it's just like, man, it's like people want to have these cliques, right? I'm not in that. I'm not part of these cliques. Like that's where I'm at in life. Like I've never fit into any group. I don't fit in with anybody. Like I literally am I feel like I'm an alien on this fucking planet. Okay? I in high school, I hung out with everybody. There was this group and that group and this group and that group. I would go from group to group just hanging, just, "Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? Whatever, say what's up." And then the next thing you know, I'm like, I'm not really there. They're like, "Oh, where you been, Mike? Where you been?" It's like, I don't fit in here, and that's the same thing with Paul's group. Like, I don't fit in there. I I I I don't. I don't fit in there. Sometimes I fit in, sometimes I don't. But that's the thing is like when I started feeling like I don't belong, I started like, I started noticing all the things, that people would say like, oh, your woman's your mama and blah 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 blah. Just all those little things started getting to me. They started hitting me hard, dude, in the heart because I was, I expected more, I guess. I expected more, and now I don't. I have no expectations anymore. Patriot, what's up, brother? Abnorm, dude, I miss talking to you, Abnorm. And Mitten, what's going on, man? Watch the collapse. Dude, I appreciate you guys coming out. Like, it's cool not just talking to myself out here. It's That's the thing too, is before Paul's channel, I've said this multiple times. I was so scared. I would not get up in front of you guys. I would not talk, dude. I left college because not just because of this, but I had a public speaking class that I had to go to. It was one of the only classes I had to complete, right? And I get into class and I'm standing in front of everybody and I'm looking around, looking into the crowd, and just my heart's just da, 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 da. What are they thinking about me? What are they gonna say about me after this? The thing is people don't give a fuck. People don't care about you. People don't give a fuck about, after you're done with your speech, nobody's talking about you. After this stream, nobody's gonna be talking about me. And that's something I didn't realize. But I was standing at the front of the class and I was shaking, man. I was shaking. I did my speech. I got like a B minus or something on my speech because I've never been one to like follow the guidelines, I guess. I've always like tried to skirt the rules a little bit, and I don't know, man. It was one of those things that just like I left that class and I was like, I'm done with this shit. But the real reason why was because I realized how like everything is controlled, dude. Everything in the college campus was controlled. I took this politics class and I've always been more on the like middle side. I'm not too far right, not too far left. I just want to be left the fuck alone, right? And my politics teacher, I came in one day and we had a presentation, and I guess it was too far right for him. And the thing is like I did this presentation, I thought it was amazing. And then I had 30 fucking people in the class shitting on me. All these people just shitting on me, and the teacher's just like allowing it. He just allows it. He's like, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I did a great presentation, and you're just gonna let everybody shit on me because I'm a little bit farther right? And we had this girl sitting in the back, and she's wearing these fucking cat ears, right? And this is how I knew shit was getting real because we had these she had these cat ears on, and dude, it was like she wanted to be called Cat. Her name was nothing like that. But yet we have to call her Cat, and we have to cater to her and her feelings, and we got to cater to the mental illness that people are going through. This is a fucking classroom, bro, where I'm not here in class to fucking play your game. You want to go play pretend, do that at home with your family. Do that with mama. You know? Don't come to class in politics class and tell me that I have to call you fucking name that's not even your name. Like all this shit just kind of like it drove me away, man. It's it was just ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. What's going on, man? What's going on, Austin? You want to come up here? Keep me from being alone? Will you please turn on captions? By the way, I despise being on camera. It has nothing to captions. How do I turn on captions? How do I do that? All right, let's see. I have not watched his show in a while. I think he's being shadow banned, but yours showed up. Oh, what's up, Freedom Fighter? I'll throw the link down there for you. Let's see. Give me one sec. Give me one sec. So the girls just got back from the farmers market. That's another thing we need to do. You guys got to you got to start shopping at the farmers market. You got to start, bartering and trading again. Like, these are the things that are going to keep us, they're going to keep people doing, things. Like, if you see someone having eggs on the side of the corner or whatever in Maine, that's a usual thing. They put, they got their little egg cartons out there. You come up, it's $3 for 12, right? And if they don't get paid, why would they keep doing it? You know? And there's a local pig farmer now, and I know there's a lot of people out there don't like eating meat, don't like the whole thing behind it. But if you don't support these people, they're not going to be there anymore. You're going to have to get all your stuff from big box stores. You're going to have to get your stuff from unclean places. At least you can travel to these farms and you can look at them, and you take a walk around and you can see how the animals are treated. That's at the very minimum, dude. You should get your animals from places that they're treated right. Yeah, we should never contribute to the mental illness of others. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous when we feed them. Because look where we're at now. We gotta call everybody they, them. You know, it, it, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The world's falling apart, but we're too worried about gender now. We're too worried about whether or not we offend each other. We got Jack Talcott, who's, I think he could be a good proponent to the whole thing. I think he can do amazing things. Problem is, he's misguided. He wants to end wars and suffering by going through politicians. Well, when's the last time an election happened and we actually started going forward? Never, never. We haven't. Even when Donald Trump was in, a lot of people want to give Donald Trump all this credit because we weren't. We didn't have the inflation that was going on. We didn't have all the problems that were going on. But he helped perpetuate that. He helped sign the bills. He helped the budget go along. I mean, we all know that the president's not in charge, but these people want to believe that, hey, if we go out to the voting booth, we can change things. Well, it's not who you vote for; it's who counts the votes. And the world is a stage. The world's a big stage, and if it wasn't, why would we be looking at this joke all the time? The State of the Union, fucking embarrassing. Embarrassing. I mean, even George Bush couldn't have done it that bad. You got people out there, and nobody talks about Joe Biden anymore because they know damn well that when they voted for him, they were only voting for him because they were voting against Trump. And they both suck. I've been saying that for years. You know, every single day when Trump was in office, it was, oh, look what Trump did today. Look what Trump did today. Bah, 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 bah. Fucking bobbleheads, right? Well, you hear almost nothing about Biden. And that makes me question things too. Because it's like, how are you guys okay with this? How are these people okay? We live in a world of zombies. We live in a world where people just don't care. They're so complacent. They got their porno, they got their Netflix, they got their slave ball, you know. And it's funny, dude. It's funny. Everybody's going to go out there and they're going to dress up for their favorite team this weekend, and they're going to go to the bars and they're going to get drunk and shit-faced. And then afterwards, they're going to go riot in the streets. I've seen it time and time again. The team wins or the team loses, it doesn't matter. There's still chaos out there. And then everybody's going to blame the police. Someone's got to be out there doing something about it. People turning cars over. Like I grew up in San Jose, dude. Cinco de Mayo. If you were downtown, you were putting yourself in danger, dude. You're putting yourself in danger. They were flipping cars over, lighting them on fire. I mean, it's just crazy. Oh man, it's it's tough, dude. It's tough. I come on here and I just start rambling because that's what's in my brain, dude. It would be like, called you in full. I am more than called, but it's okay. What do you mean, Larry? Explain yourself. It'd be like, if I called you a fucking fool, I am more than name calling. Well, I mean, you could think I'm a fool, like, but I'm steel sharpens steel, man, and around and playing like everything's okay. It's not okay. Not me. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not getting to you, Larry. I love you, brother. I'm just trying to figure out the next thing. Yeah, and ever since I stopped drinking, I stopped drinking. I haven't smoked in over 30 days. Um, I am kind of like I'm getting like my brain is so clear now. It's so clear, and my heart's so, yeah, Patriot, come on up. I, I'm so like open to the fact that like we're things are going downhill. Things are going downhill quick, and we got to do something about it. And that's where my chickens come in. I'm gonna have chickens. I'm gonna have my garden. I expect you guys to figure this out. I'm gonna throw the link down here. I want to kind of sidetrack from what I'm talking about because I don't want to keep looping. I think it's so important, though. I think it's so important to get your house in order. What's going on, brother?
Moose, glad to see you, buddy. Hey,
Oh man,
instead of building a chicken coop, you should, if you have the room out wherever you're going to be building this thing,
the
consider a chicken
tractor, right?
tractor. They make you see you'll save so 40% on food because the chickens will scratch the ground, eat the crickets and the bugs and the grass and the roots, and then you just move the chicken tractor the next day. Takes about 6 to 8 weeks for depending on how many chickens you have and how long you let them stay in one spot and how much destruction they do to the ground, right? So, but you'll save so much on food, and your eggs will taste better. They'll be more vibrant orange, like like the sun used to look like.
Oh
So
yeah,
that,
yeah. Like the sun used to look like. I love that.
and as far as our economy, I got some news I want to tell you folks here. Just recently, the Premier of Alberta, she promised when she got elected that she would give the unvaccinated protection through Human Rights Act, and she backtracked on that. And then there's a lady in the province of Alberta. She needs a double lung transplant, and they won't help her because she's not vaccinated. So the tides are turning to worse, not getting any better. I could go on and on about how much bad freaking news there is. Also, we had a gentleman that was walking around naked in the ladies' changing room, and his junk was hanging at eye level in front of a little girl about 8 years old. And the city of Saskatoon, quite a few of the residents, they got very upset about this. Uh, the mother of the child, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with her, pardon my French, with little Moose there. She's not going to file a complaint for indecent exposure. And so nothing's going to be done about it. The society is in fear all the time from the last 3 years from this COVID pandemic stuff. They're just scared to do anything.
Well,
So
that's
on the
that's the
lighter
thing
side,
too. We can't move on from this topic because it's getting worse and worse, dude. It's happening
yep,
in the town right next to me, and people don't
yep.
people don't even care. People don't. It's oh, tolerance and love and peace, and oh, let's all be equal together. And then all of a sudden it's like you see the hatred they have towards everybody else who's like, wait a second, there's a problem here. You know, straight up hatred. There's no coexisting. It's, there is no coexisting because the people who are trying to push agendas, they have no interest in coexisting. They have only interest in dominating everyone and making us, forcing us to do exactly what they want. Look at the last 2 years. They damn near forced thousands and thousands and thousands of people to go get that jabberoo. You either lose your job or you're an outcast in society or anything, dude. Oh man, we got Abnorm back here. Keep going, man.
Yeah, bringing up about that job. I post a lot of stuff on social media. Hey, buddy,
Hey, Ben.
Abnorm,
Hey.
uh, about the people suddenly dying. And just this last week, there was 4 people locally that they dropped dead. That's within 100 kilometers, say 60 miles of where I live, and they're not talking about it. It's being all hushed up. It's we're coming to that precipice point. There was I don't know if you guys watch. Oh, sorry to give him a plug, but it's Red Pill Phil Brown, and he had an interview. It wasn't his interview. It was a clip from another guy doing an interview with a billionaire. And this billionaire says everything's going to his plan because when the people that took the jibber jabber find out that it's killing them, there's going to be a revolution. And that'll overthrow the governments all over the earth, and that'll bring in the new world order. And that was his billionaire's prediction. And he says everything's going to as planned. Because
it's already here, though, dude. It's already
yeah, well, that's
here,
what it's scheduled, though, Moose. It's already everything's going to the way they scheduled it, right? So we're at that precipice point.
You know where I'm at, right? I'm down in a town with 3,300 people in the middle of a desert, halfway down the peninsula, and they still got here. They still got here, man. Like, if they can get here, they can get anywhere.
What do you mean got here? How do you mean just with the propaganda and stuff?
With everything, with the and the you know, like people still walking around or driving around by themselves in the car with the mask on. Like, they came out and said the mask don't do anything, and yet there's people driving around with the mask on by themselves.
Yeah, I still see it today. Like, I was just in the city the other day. I got some really interesting news to tell you guys, but I was in the city yesterday, and I'd say I ran into, like, you know, you run into quite a few people, but there was still that odd person wearing a mask driving in the car by themselves. There's still people living in fear. You can still see it all over the place. I do see a lot more ambulances taking people into the emergency room, though. Like, that's wild. On the good news, yesterday was February 10th. In 2021, I had my rights violated by a CEO of the St. Paul's Hospital in the city of Saskatoon, and 4 Saskatoon Police Service officers threw me out of the hospital. I finalized small claims court papers yesterday, and I'm going to sue them for $7,000 apiece for violating my rights and trespassing against me. I went to go file a complaint for assault against a police officer. I got assaulted by this RCMP officer twice, once on November 27th of 2022, and then on December 1st of 2022. And I was thrown out of the police station. I got it all on video, and it took me a couple months to try to get the complaint started, and they kept insisting that I use the digital form. I said, no, I'd like to exercise my liberty and speak to somebody. I ended up talking to Staff Sergeant Peterson of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and what I talk about a heated discussion. I wanted to record the discussion with my cell phone and my friend's laptop, and we argued for 10-15 minutes about, you know, me having my liberty. And it come down to I just said, well, seeing that you're not going to give me service, I'd like to know who your supervisor is so I can file a complaint against you, because it's illegal for a police officer to refuse a complaint. And you have no law that says I can't record. I kept asking him, what law do you have that says I can't record this conversation? And I mentioned that probably 7-10 times, and he wouldn't provide the law. And then, well, after I told him, I said, you're going to have to either throw me out or accept my complaint. And once I asked for his supervisor's name, within 3 seconds, I was in that office filling out my complaint. So being assertive with these police is starting to become mandatory. They're running amok thinking that we don't have any rights. And like I say, I just finished filing the court papers against 4 cops that violated my rights. I go back on Monday morning. I'm going to go dump another. It costs $100 a case, and I dropped $500 on Friday. Monday, I plan on dropping another $100. And then the following week, 2 weeks after that, I'll go jump another $600 on all the court services, court security. 3 judges, I'm taking a small claims court for violating my rights. So there are some of us that are standing up, and we're doing our best, but the majority, we're on that slippery slope, really close to going to uncontrolled. Like, especially the United States, Moose, you're president at the State of the Union. You remember, this is going globally, right?
Yeah,
you know what? And it's our prime minister in Canada. It's not much better. This guy, our prime minister, can't go anywhere in the country and let people know, because there's 500-600 people that are going there calling him an asshole, a traitor. fuckface nonstop. Like, he's not welcome anywhere in our country. So I'll leave it to you guys up there. I said my piece. I don't want to. I'm always so long-winded.
Well, I want to say something about my character, right? So there was a lady that I kind of got in an argument with 2 weeks ago. It was like a little argument. It wasn't even like anything big, right? But I was just like, I kind of have a little bit of resentment for her, and I apologized to her, and we went on this hike group, right? And this hike group, we were going up over these mountains, and it's like 3 or 4 different peaks that we were doing, and we get to the third one. We're getting down, and we're about to climb the last one. We're turning around, and you're all the baby. She's good, guys. I promise you, she's good. She's there with mama. So we get to the third one. We're getting down into the crevice or whatever, and we're about to turn around with the baby, and we look around and we're like, "Where's Barbara?" So she wasn't there, right? And I was like, "Well, aren't you the last person, Anita?" And she's like, "Oh yeah. I'm the last person or whatever." And I said, "Well, where's Barbara?" And she's like, "I don't know. She was back there. She said her lungs were hurting, and she was taking pictures and stuff." So, and I was like, "Well, then you're not the last one, right?" And so everybody else continued on, and I circled back, and we saw her car there, so she obviously didn't leave, right? And so what did I do? I ran up the mountain, dude. I ran up the mountain, and I looked everywhere for her. I was searching everywhere because she's probably in her like 60s, and I was like, dude, what if she had a heart attack? What if she's like, fell off the cliff or something, or maybe she twisted her ankle? Nobody's gonna look for her, right? Well, I'm looking around, and finally I see all the other guys come around the bottom where we exit, and so I go running back down the mountain, and I'm like, hey, did you guys find her? Is she okay? And apparently she had just taken so long that she ended up taking the short route back that we took, but we were ahead of her, so we didn't know. And she sat there at the end of it waiting for everybody else. So I totally was like, just my point about this whole thing is it doesn't matter if I don't like you or not. I'm still gonna go out of my way to like try to take care of things. Be right back.
Yeah, you got to keep an eye on the people, right? Especially in a group up in the hills. I don't wonder if there's mountain lions down where he's at. What kind of dangerous critters are there? I just finished watching an episode of that Yellowstone Ranch. And that one cowboy, he goes to Texas for the first time. He's sleeping on the ground. And this old fella comes up and wakes him up, and he goes, and the centipede runs across him, scares the shit out of him. He goes, what the fuck was that? And the old timer's looking, well, we don't sleep on the ground here in Texas. There's centipedes, rattlesnakes. He started going off on all the things that could kill him. It was hilarious. Sorry to change topic. That thought just
No,
keeps
it's
in my
all
mind.
good. It's all good. It's just the same thing with Jack. What's up, Shane? I just kind of felt the same way about Jack. Like, I want to see him, do good, and he's got the persistence, and he's got the heart for it. That's all I got to say about Jack.
Bruce, can you hear me? There's my microphone to mess up.
It's roboting.
You sound like a
Can you
cyborg
hear me?
right now,
My
Shane.
microphone is fucked.
Yeah, you got poor audio there, Shane. You might have to jump out and come back. So how's the weather down in your neck of the woods, Abnorm?
Amazingly good and very odd. I'm in New Brunswick, Canada. Last weekend we had that polar vortex. It was minus 59 degrees Fahrenheit, but so minus 50 Canadian or Celsius. But other than that, it's been abnormally warm for this time of year. We have hardly any snow. We're getting it's been right around freezing or above freezing
Wow.
For pretty much the whole winter, except that past weekend where we had 2 days of minus 50, and yeah, it's a very different winter. It's not like
I'll agree with you. This is the mildest February that I can recall in my 55 years here.
yeah,
Really?
And that's not saying it's going to be like this next year, because last year February was miserable, minus 30 degrees Celsius on a regular basis. So it's just a cycle, eh? I noticed that in the Ukraine, where the war is right now, the Russians aren't allowed to move their tanks around because they had such a mild winter, and there's still too much mud. So the Russian heavy artillery and on tanks and stuff like that, they haven't been mobilizing, I guess would be the best word, because of such a warm winter. But we'll pay for it. Like, we still got March, and in this neck of the woods, we get a heck of a blizzard just about every March. A couple feet of snow, wind blowing, and then in like a lion, out like a lamb.
I hope you're wrong. I want to start my garden. I want early spring, and like considering how warm it's been, and there's not that much snow here. How can it last? But I know we do sometimes get storms in March and April, but I'm hoping not.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing though? Like having a tough winter, like.
What's bad? I hate it. I mean, it's to be out when it's friggin', if you spit, it will bounce off the ground. It's also depressing. I mean, because it's dark, you got a lot of sunlight, and there's not a lot to do. If it's too cold, you can't be outside for any period of time. This year, it's been different because it's no problem to be out all day and do stuff in the yard or wherever, like in the shed. Where most years it's too cold. It's too cold to be out there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was just wondering about like the trees and all the like plants and stuff like that, because I know that certain things need like a dormancy period and whatnot, and the bears, and like.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm not qualified to say anything about that. I know it was so cold last weekend that crows were freezing to death, which is
holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother-in-law had one fall out of his tree, frozen. And luckily, I raised ducks. Luckily, I bought a diesel heater, and I was able to keep my duck coop warm. But people around here had to take their animals inside their house. Like it was that cold, and the water freezes so fast that if you don't have some sort of heat, like you got to change the water every like hour, or they won't be able to drink.
Damn, dude. Damn. See, that's the thing I'm worried about with the chickens is getting those chickens, and then I don't want them to freeze to death. Then I got to figure out how to protect them. It's
that's why chicken tractors are really good investment, because they're shielded from the environment, right? From the wind and rain and that. But if you build it right, it's got a shelter so the hawks and owls and predators can't get at them. Like if you put a sealed roof on it or whatever, so the predators can't get there. But leaving them one spot, it really burns the ground, because all that hot chicken poop, it's so much nitrogen, it'll burn the ground. And then it's burnt for a long time, eh? It takes a long time for it to recover. At least usually a season. So a lot of people use those chicken tractors. They'll put them on in the spring and let the chickens go over their garden. And then they come and rototiller the garden where the chicken tractor was, and all that nitrogen gets mixed in with the other stuff, and it's not as hot, eh? It doesn't burn the microbiology in the soil as bad. So
yeah.
There's chicken.
Find a way.
Hey, wow.
Shane's got a chicken. Oh man.
In the car.
Dude, that's awesome. That is awesome, brother.
Moose, you like my cock? Moose, you like my cock?
I think it's a fancy one. That is a very fancy one. Let's help you.
What's up, gentlemen?
Is that a rooster?
Good to see you.
It's a rooster, bro. Yeah.
It is? Wow. See, I don't even
His
know what
mistress
a
does
rooster's
now.
like.
If I don't,
That's a nice cock you got there, buddy.
Okay.
It throws right out.
Thank you, bro.
What's up, Austin?
What's up, man? How'd that rooster get so chill with you there, Shane?
Moose, my
horrible.
microphone is fucking Moose. I'd like to get a new one.
I understand, brother. I understand. I'm usually the one roboting, but today, thanks to the grace of God, I'm not roboting.
Can you hear me?
Hardly.
Can you hear me?
Kind of. It's kind of like nails on a chalkboard, but we love
Sound
you.
of shit. My microphone is fucked, bro.
I'd agree.
I'll just mute.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to hear because roosters can usually be sort of aggy birds, so that was impressive. He was able to handle his cock like that. Have some good cock handling.
Years ago, there was an AM radio station that had like a buy and sell. People would call in. I think it was in Kentucky, and this is, I don't know, quite a few years ago when I was driving truck down in the States, and I'm listening to this buy and sell or swap and shop. I can't remember what it is. And this guy comes on there. Well, I've got for sale a really big red cock. It's about 4 years old, beautiful colors on it. And then you can call in and people can call in and ask the guy about the product that he's trying to sell. So it was set up, it was staged, but it was funnier than old hell about this guy trying to sell his big red cock. I just remembered that when Shane brought up his rooster there. It was freaking hilarious. I remember, I think it was in Indiana actually that I heard this. And then I'm driving down the interstate laughing my fucking head off because it was so fucking funny. Guy trying to sell his big red cock. And it was a Christian show too. That's the funny thing. It was a Christian buy and sell or swap and shop thing.
So Moose is getting some chickens, huh? How many chickens have you ordered there, Moose?
So I'm thinking 4 to 6. I haven't actually ordered them yet because I'm not home.
Yeah.
And if I order them now, they'll probably be dead by the time I get there.
Facts. Yeah, I would get them a few times. We got them super early, like trying to get a head start on it all. And then you got to worry about them getting cold and stuff. And then the last time we got them and it was like midsummer. And that was actually really made it a lot easier. Because then you don't have to worry about keeping them warm and you can get them out in the sun faster. So if you have the patience, I would almost even think of waiting. But I know it's exciting to get going in spring, though. That's the hardest part about spring is waiting for spring to actually start for you to start doing all those awesome things that you want to do. We got to be patient sometimes.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited to grow garden and I can't wait. I hate the winter so much.
So do I.
Why was I born in Canada?
Yeah, right.
Deal.
Why do you stay, right? That's what I start thinking here
I
in
know.
the Midwest. It's like, why do I even stay here? Because it does, man. That winter is just 3-4 months where your life is just on hold and all the things you want to do, and you stay stuck.
Everything
on the
sucks.
Dumb shit. And
My neck of the wood, winter's 5.5 months of the year.
Yeah,
I kid you not.
Same here, I think, right? Like,
It's not 3 or 4 months. It's darn near half the year. There's been times that we've had snow in June. In my neck of the woods, we've had snowstorms in June. But that's just the weather cycle.
Hey, Abnorm is like a couple 100 miles north of me.
yeah.
And so like his conditions are the same as mine. It's like
probably similar.
In October it starts freezing, and then November it really starts freezing, and then all the way to May almost sometimes. So Patriot, if you don't have to live in winter in May, then you're actually blessed, brother. You're blessed.
Yeah, but he does.
Yeah.
Where the Patriot is, it's worst of all of us. It's way colder.
Yeah, I did that. That's me still just starting to get to spring. We usually start planting seeds in the ground actually in May. About May 28th, my mom told me, is when we seed the garden here. And that's late, right? May 28th, right? It's like I say, we've had snow in June. Like I remember when I was young, there was a snowstorm in June. Like there was probably 4 or 6 inches of snow on the ground. Plants died. It was a bad year. That was probably 1978, when North Dakota and South Dakota had that huge blizzard. That was the same year. That spring, we had snow in June, 1978.
I'm glad you got a good memory still. Speaking of good memory, you were alive during Elvis, so I just watched that Elvis movie last night. I had a big old community event that I threw, and I got the projector screen out. We ordered like 6 or 7 pizzas. A couple people made pizza, and dude, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away because I never knew anything about Elvis other than he was some heartthrob that all the women were like, oh, throwing their panties on stage and stuff and shaking his hips. Well, I didn't realize he was such a rebel, you know, and that like, dude, that intrigues me so much about him. It's like he was a rebel dude. He hung out with he didn't care. He came from Memphis, Tennessee. It was a highly colored area, just like myself. Like it was all colors where I came from, and he like straight up didn't give a shit. He wasn't like everybody else, He was trying to bring.
You should go look up some of that original like concert footage of Elvis, and he would go through the crowds and be like smooching all the women, and just imagine hundreds of women. He just walking through the crowd, just give them all little pecks on the lips, and their husbands and fathers are like serving him up. I mean, he was a interesting sort of magnetic animal magnetism sort of weirdness, but it gets a little psyopy too. With some of the big bands where you start being like, this is sort of a weird group think phenomenon occurring there a little bit. And the Colonel Tom, right? Is that his handler? I think.
Dude, it was a straight up handler.
Yeah, he was a weird one as well.
Yeah, and guess who he's played by? Tom Hanks.
Oh, yeah, right. Fucking weirdo Tom Hanks.
Straight up weirdo Tom Hanks, brother. Dude, that whole thing, I'm not going to spoil the movie, man, but the history in the movie, I love history. And the history in the movie, it showed him out there kissing all these women right in front of his wife. And she's just like, whatever. That's Elvis. It's going to be our boy Unslaved.
He just recently, I watched a guy, I can't remember what, he's on YouTube, Jimmy's World Aviation. He just bought Elvis's aircraft that was abandoned in Arizona. And I just watched the video last night. He did a walkthrough. He's going to try to restore it. It's going to cost about $6 million though to bring that jet back to what it used to be. But it was Elvis's aircraft. So, I think it's kind of a waste of money because, in the future, Elvis is going to be forgotten, right? Your generation, the generation underneath me, or two, I don't know where you guys are at. I'm a Generation X. That's going to be, it was a fad when Elvis was here. Now it's part of history. And then the next generation, he'll be forgotten about because Moose won't be, it's highly unlikely you'll be playing Elvis records, LPs, to your child. And when she's 15, right, she's going to be listening to the next generation or genre of rock and roll, like, or whatever it'll be called, went from rock and roll to hip hop to punk and classic. It's always, the genres are always moving through time, right? If you go back and listen to the music from, say, the 1500s, fuck, when Mozart, man, that stuff was wicked. Everybody, not everybody, but the people that could listen to it, that was the genre of the time. And then polka music came in, and then it was rock and roll in the 50s, World War II. Then the 80s came, it was punk rock, the Ramones, and yada, yada. And then it kind of went to a more of a heavy metal, came out in the 80s too. I forgot about that one. And now there's hip hop, and then it was rap. They're not even the same. One's hip hop and one's rap. And so who knows when Moose's daughter gets to Moose's age, what they'll actually be listening to, if they get to listen to music at all. Who knows? But
I was thinking about
the
that.
smart cities.
It's kind of
who knows what the smart cities are going to be providing for people in the future.
Like being a big fan of music, it's a weird feeling when you get to a point where you sort of surveyed it all and you start having this realization. It's sort of a loss of nostalgia where it's like you can't, it's like you almost miss what you had to discover. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
like that feeling of discovery, listening to all these different genres and time periods of music, and then you survey it all, and then it's like, oh, like I don't have that treat to look forward to anymore. That experience of newness in those
Yeah.
things. I think
You know
life
what
is
gets me?
like that too, but
Dude, I never fit into like I was saying earlier, I don't fit into groups, I don't fit into cliques, like I'm always like the outcast, right? Well, this also goes with music. Like people were like Kurt Cobain and Nirvana this, and then they're like, "Oh, Tool's the greatest band in the world," and I'm like, "Well, they got a couple good songs, you know." And then when I say, "Oh, but I like the Perfect Circle better," they're like, "What is wrong with you?" You know? And it's like, well, it's different. It's not. I don't know, man. It's not. I didn't see everybody jumping on the nuts like when people like when I see a huge group of people like, oh my God, Blink 182 and you know, and Foo Fighters and stuff, I'm like, they're not that great though. I don't understand it. Like I don't get it. To me, they're not that great.
I would avoid
That's
those
the
things
genre,
just
though, right?
I would avoid them just because the people were into them. You know, if everybody was into Metallica, like I'll just wait until everybody doesn't like Metallica anymore, and then I'll start listening to them. Or just because I don't want to be what everyone else is doing. So even if I did like them, I like hear them. I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. But everyone's on to something. I don't want to be on it. What I don't want to do what they're doing. I always would try to find my own thing because I didn't want to be part of the group. I could have been involved with lots of groups of people, and I was, you know, in high school. I didn't fit in, but I purposely chose not to fit in. I don't want to be in the group. I see that as a dangerous place to be in a group.
Yeah, the group thing really got me, man. It even goes with movies, dude. I'm one of the few people who never saw Pulp Fiction, like the whole movie.
It's a
You
pretty good
know,
one. It's not bad.
and it's
you're missing out there, bro.
I have to go back. Like, I literally am gonna go back and watch the whole movie because all these like cult classics, you know, people are like, "What? You haven't seen this? What? What?" You know, and it's like, nah, man, no, I haven't.
I watched
It
V for
trips people
Vendetta
out.
the other day again, and what an amazing movie. And it's so predictive programming. All the stuff that you see in the environment in V for Vendetta is what is right now and maybe a couple years in advance. I couldn't believe, like, I watched it when it first came out. I think it was in 2005. It didn't really set in, but you'll watch it again now, and the whole environment, the propaganda, the way the state is set up, and the surveillance, the curfews, the health regulations, and all the stuff that's going on in the movie, it's quite mind blowing.
Yeah.
And his way with words, it kind of reminds me of Paul. You know, hey, Paul has a really great vocabulary, and V for Vendetta, when he first comes out to what's her name, Natalie Portman, where he saves her in an alley, and he's using all the words to start with V. Amazing. What a great movie. My favorite superhero for sure.
And you know what's trippy is that we're making this medium is how movies will be made going forward. Like that's what's tripping me out is how many documentaries I'm watching that are based on footage that people just shot, you know, willy-nilly for their friends, for their families. Like how much of life is being recorded now on these screens, and then people are making the movies just based on that, like ad hoc after the fact. Like it's like that's the craziest thing. So even those big movies are sort of drifting away, and now we're actually making the movies real time for each other, like this, which is weird.
It's like a sitcom. It's like a sitcom on a stream, isn't it? Really? Can you guys hear me now? Is it better now?
Yeah, way better.
Way better. Way better.
Fucking hell! My mic. Sorry, go ahead.
Just one point I want to make. I recently watched a video of a young black fella. He's probably in his 30s. He listened to Leonard Skinner's Freebird for the first time. His mind was blown. He says, I've never heard nothing like that. I didn't know rock and roll was. You should watch the videos. and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he was blown away. Now, as for the movies, if you've noticed that the movies, Shakespeare said that there's only 28 things to write about. You should be able to confirm this year because you're a book nerd. But Shakespeare said there's only 28 plots. That's it. There's nothing, there's no more sequences. There's no more ways of putting stuff together because there's only 28 methods of making a story. If you look at movie industry now, we've gone through all these 28 plots. Just in our generation, with the people that are on this panel, we've seen all these plots 100 times each. So the movie industry is now at a pinnacle where it can't produce anything that people are interested in. There's no good movies coming out in the future. Universal Pictures, Fox, Century, all them big budget places, they're not spending billions of dollars.
Moose's an expert then. Moose's live stream.
There's
Moose's live stream is the next movie.
Yeah, the next genre will be
don't
live
get me on Vice.
documentary.
I don't want to be on Vice, man. Next thing you know, my wife will come up to me with the whip.
Well, that happens anyway, Moose. Moose, that happens anyway. That happens anyway, whether you're on Vice or not, right?
See, my hands got these scars now on them, right? Because I've been grabbing the whip, and I'm like, nah, not today.
Yeah. Well, that's what you got to fight back, bro. You got to fight back. You got to fight back, bro. But you're right, though. Like I was thinking that the other night as well. That the things on YouTube, the live streams and stuff like that. Like, I don't watch movies anymore. That's what made me think about it, because usually I would, like, at night sometimes either read a book or watch a movie. I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched a movie. So you're dead right about that. This is kind of like the new Hollywood kind of thing, where we're kind of like sitcomming ourselves, but it's better because at least then we can develop that way as well. It's easier to develop when you're kind of like on the screen yourself, and then you can interact better, and it's a good development tool also, I believe, anyway.
Well, yeah, and then it's weird when, like...
What do you think, Yurt?
Yeah, it's weird, and then you start moving in different circles, and then those circles start coming together. Like I was talking to these people through Chalk Body Outline. Right. I met this guy named Benton J.A., this truck driver. And then somehow now, and I just saw this morning, somehow Sly Shy has gotten mixed up in the Chalk Body Outline Benton crowd, and they had a bunch of drama the other night, and I just saw clips of it of around the N-word, and they got into it. So now there's like different spheres that are like moving in and changing the plot line of these panel discussions, and that becomes its own like whole thing, and then I don't know, it's weird. There's a weird element to all this. And then I was watching on the people documenting their life, Hulu has a new documentary, and same thing there, Shane, where I'm barely watching any other TV or any other thing besides this sort of stuff. But I did hear about on the cult subject, Hulu has one called Stolen Youth. And it is that thing that I'm talking about, where they were filming a bunch of their own experiences, these college-age kids at 2009, with this sort of spook dude from the military who started a cult program on this group of college-age kids. But then he's like recording all the interactions and all this stuff. But it's such a weird phenomena to like have, like, be able to voyeuristically look in onto people's lives like that. And like, why would this guy have recorded it all? You know what I mean? Like the motivations, like why? I don't know. It gets a little, like I said, a little spooky. It almost looks, I don't know. And I felt that a little bit again last night, frankly, and I'm not trying to, start any drama or anything, but, the whole Talcottian sagas get weird, man, at some point. Like, and I'm not trying to go there, but stuff gets a little trippy.
No, go there, dude. Go there. We got it. We got to hear this,
it's just
man.
like the looping effect and the lack of like progress and what's really going on there.
Hey, you were there yesterday, right? You were listening.
I saw bits of that. Yeah.
Did you? Went on for like 11 hours or something, didn't
Yeah,
you?
I couldn't even
so
watch.
Like, who could watch that whole thing? But every time I came back, it's fucking Talcott doing exactly the same thing. Facts and opinions that he never supports, and it's just the same thing over and over, and it's everybody's fault but his own.
But then what about us that like are interested in that?
It's interesting, man.
What about us? Like,
I'm a psychology major, dude. Like I'm genuinely like intrigued. Like because I've tried to help him. I've genuinely tried to help him. I've reached out to his son.
Really?
I've helped him. Yeah, I called. Nobody answered. And then like there was this lady on Facebook that lady he was bringing up or whatever.
All
She
right.
was going ham on him, dude. Ham, like
On the Facebook? Oh, I want to hear this.
the slave link.
Yeah.
Is it that one lady who's been on Paul's show?
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
Probably.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of her name. I can't remember.
just unbind my slave net, my slave net. So yeah, so she was going ham on him, and
On Facebook?
yeah, and so I was like, I went in. I said, hey, if you've got evidence of this, I would like to be, I'd like to see the evidence of him being a violent person or him being, that kind of person that you're portraying him as. Like, because I would like to see that side of him. Not because I want to see him in a violent sphere, but because I want to know more about like what's going on so I can assess it. Well, she didn't have any evidence. She just kept yelling at me or whatever. So I said, hey, I'm just going to report you to Facebook for harassment. I was just playing, right? Bro, I was just playing. I already learned the hard way about that stuff. And she blocked me. That was my way to get her to block me because I wasn't going to block her. But yeah, so I told Talcott.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go.
I told Talcott like what I thought, man. I went up there and I said, look, dude, the reason I think that you're not getting your message across is because you're not taking accountability for your own actions. You're not doing anything to try to get you there. And like he was like, oh, that's all you. That's all you.
It's in your head.
You're projecting. And I said, well, no, it's not a projection. It's a, when you look at a cup, right? You look at this cup, you can describe the cup, right? Is that you projecting on the cup?
Nice looking cup.
Yeah, but are you projecting on the cup, or is the cup a cup? Like, it's a definition. Definitions are made so we can, because we have solid evidence of who the man is.
And not to be
flipped on me.
And not to be full conspiracy paranoid schizo weirdo, but and I think he probably just has his own issues and that's what's going on. But if we were to just enter a thought experiment about what a 21st century, counterintelligence operative would look like on this platform, would it look like a guy who was coming in and trying to get everyone to join the militias? No. Right. That would be too obvious. Everyone would spot that. Would it look like a guy that was, whatever? It wouldn't be so explicit and in your face. Right. So they would evolve their game to what our game, whatever our game would be in truth or circles, whatever those are. But what would it look like? And wouldn't it sort of look like that a little bit? I mean,
a lot. If you think that would be the perfect move. It distracts everybody into this whole wacky soap opera that goes nowhere over and over and over and over.
It goes nowhere. It literally is just like, it's the same thing. And that's what I was trying to get to him is like, dude, like I thought we were breaking ground. There was one day where I told him hang out with us on the panel and just be normal for a day. And when I mean normal, when I say normal, I say that very loosely. What I mean on normal is basically you come up and you talk about the topic at hand. If we're talking gardening, talk gardening. If we're talking about movies, talk about movies. But every single time we think that he's almost there. And at the end, he's like, so are we going to talk about ending wars and suffering yet?
I always think, every time I hear what his goals in life, I always think about tomorrow I'm going to paint the moon gold. Or like, it's like this, something that is, I mean, just because it's such a big goal, I mean, I think you need to make smaller goals on the way to painting Mars gold. You need to make little steps. First, I need to figure out like how to make a rocket, but not him. He's right to I'm going to finish the wars. I'm going to do this tomorrow. Tomorrow, my goal is to end wars. Man, this is like something that people have been trying to end for forever for all of mankind. And he thinks he's going to wake up tomorrow and paint Mars gold. It's like, maybe make some baby steps, do some Bill Murray shit before you think that you're going to end legal secrets. It's like setting yourself up for failure. You got to get a little bit of success behind you, make some little goals, accomplish some things, give yourself the confidence to then move forward, make baby steps. But no, not this guy. He's got this big fucking plan that's going to never go anywhere. It'll never. It's unrealistic. It's the word I'm looking for. It's a great thing to want to end, but I don't think his plan is ever going to end it because he doesn't really have a plan. Where does it start? It's always if you guys will listen to me, if I get enough people to help me. It's never about helping himself to make the steps to do it himself. If you want something done right, you got to do it yourself. You can't rely on other people to come around off the internet, listen to nonsense, and then support getting rid of legal secrets without a plan to do it. It's fucking. Well, guys, we got to paint Mars gold. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. How? We don't even have a rocket ship. We don't have any gold paint. I don't know. Sorry for the weird analogy, but I just always think such nonsense.
Don't be sorry, man. My
makes me wonder if those kind of people are controlled opposition to take the topic off of schedule, like, to get it away to go on to nonsense. Now, as for the wars, we're seeing a lot on our mainstream media and even on YouTube. You can scroll through your YouTube channels and you'll see, the Ukraine's kicking Russia's ass. Ukraine's kicking Russia's ass. And this has been going on now for a good year and a half. Now the truth is slowly starting to come out on these independent news journals that are doing live streams. The Ukrainians aren't winning. Okay, there's losses on both sides in conflicts, and we're only being told one side, Russia's getting the shit kicked out of it, and Russia's fucking losing. And if Russia was losing, you do some critical thinking. Why the fuck are we sending M1 Abrams tanks there and F-16s and fucking all this new technology? And the soldiers now are being trained by NATO before they go into the conflict zone. You see where I'm going with this? This shit is... It's scheduled. I hate to say it or whatever, but
I'd say so.
It's just brothers killing brothers for greed. It's all it is. It's Ukraine is the most corrupt country on earth. Okay, they got money laundering going down there like big time, with Biden sending billions of dollars to Zelensky there, and saying he's a Jew and he's doing stuff that's not doing what the money was said for, right? So, and the child trafficking there it's the capital of the world for child trafficking. Okay, this is my ancestors are from there. Just one generation ago, my grandfathers and great grandfathers, they were in the Ukraine, and it's a very corrupt country. Okay, the Nazis, sure, they got kicked out of Germany, but nobody fucking touched them in the Ukraine. It wasn't even fucking mentioned. And that organization stayed live and healthy for fucking damn near 70 fucking years. This is a fact. And that regime, or the one unit, they're all, they wear the swastika. They're friggin' full of blowing Nazis. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad, because Hitler did some things that was bad, but he also did a lot of good things. Like, he started promoting nationalism, which got his country out of the debt. Prior to World War II, in the 30s, you had to take a wheelbarrow of money to get a loaf of bread in Germany. It was cheaper to burn the money that wheelbarrow of money you earned that day than to take two wheelbarrows of money to go buy some wood to heat your house. And he changed that, but he did a lot of bad shit. He started eugenics, which is now we're seeing the fruits of that labor today. In Canada, we got MAID, medical assisted induced dying. Okay, and people with mental problems, they're the first on the list. A really good friend of mine for Stanford just caught the doctors in Ontario, where she's got power of attorney over her old friend. They tried killing this guy, and she caught them. So,
I don't
all
believe
this
in any of
where
that.
I'm going with this is the conflicts that are all we're stuck into or pushed to and to get into, and it's like controlled opposition. It's designed for us to be going in this direction. It's like that billionaire quoted this morning after when all these people who got the jibber jabber find out that they have their chances of living have decreased, they're gonna fucking revolt. And that news is starting to come out now rapidly. And they can't control it because like
I
you're
I
was saying there
doubt it
about
though.
the independent news media.
I
Right?
doubt it.
That was live
People
stream.
are
People are not watching mainstream and listening to the radio as much. They're going to live panels and live broadcasts and podcasts that are done live. And alternative news is now starting to be the norm. So is that part of the program or is that part of the schedule?
Yep.
And as for the war, I don't, personally, we shouldn't even be involved in that because that's all because Putin didn't want NATO in the Ukraine. And Zelensky, who was
I
put
don't
in
know,
there
man.
by
They're all
Obama,
the same fucking team. It's been going on for a long time. I don't believe in any of these imaginary lines. If you look at just the last 3 years, all these countries have been doing exactly the same thing, but at a different pace. You need truth to sell lies. So you get somebody giving you a bunch of truth. It's just like Moose's title to this stream is "Those Without Discernment Are Lost," and Hitler was one of those shitbags. He was one of the shitbags, just like Putin is a young global leader, just like Zelensky, just like all these shitbags. They're all playing their part against you. It's us versus them. Don't think any of these good guys are any of these guys are the good guys. They're not. Trump isn't.
Yeah.
Biden isn't. You can go through all history and all leaders, and it's all looks completely set up. The more you look at each thing, China was set up by Nixon to become what it is today, a proving ground for what is to come across the whole area. Now you're seeing this scam of the last 3 years falling apart. And what are they pushing next? A war, just like around World War I. It looks all contrived, and it's been going on since most likely Babylon. It's nonsense, and you got to watch all these alternative medias because there's a lot of them. Like I don't trust Russell Brand, I don't trust Joe Rogan, I don't trust Alex Jones, I don't trust any of them. I take what I can discern as truth and attack that idea. I play the part of devil's advocate to the point where I want the other side to win, attack the ideas in my head until I come with something that makes sense. That goes with religion, politics, everything in the whole world. But this whole thing, all these distractions, they're just to get you sucked in. This whole Ukraine war and talking about MAID and all that stuff, it's all to pull you in. Not to say that it's not happening, but what is in your control? You can only do what you can control. You can only change yourself and change what you do and be an example to those around you and make the best of your life. The world is what you make it. You can't fall for all this bullshit because it's been going on for a long time and it's sucking everybody in all these different directions, dividing people between left and right and black and white. And it's all a bunch of fucking BS no matter what side it's coming on. That's my
The more time you spend in the circus, the more time you're spending away from the things that you need to do.
Yeah. It's just a distraction. Like, it's better off to look after your family, get chicken coop going, get in the garden going, than to spend your time on BitChute finding out who's died suddenly. Not that it's not happening, and not that it's not a concern, but the only war to fight is the war that's in your driveway, on your land. That's the way I see it. It's not my responsibility to go up and stand up for everybody else's rights and freedoms. They won't even stand up for their own rights and freedoms. It's only my job to stand up for my rights and freedoms when my rights and freedoms are threatened at that moment. I don't think I need to go out and help people stand up for shit that they won't even stand up for themselves.
I totally agree with you, Abnorm. This is not, it's part of the topic that we're on. We're discussing a lot about controlled opposition, and we don't even really realize we're talking about controlled opposition. Because a lot of these alternative news medias, they'll give you 80% of the truth, but give you 20% of the fucking lie, right?
Yep.
And I was on a panel last night of over 100 people on stanforde.ca, and it was a Zoom chat, and we talked about controlled opposition. And one of the things it's self-evident is that they give us 80% of the truth and then 20% of the lie to get you to try to go with them because they're giving you 80% of the truth, right? So what we discovered is that in Canada, Norm, you'll find this really interesting. I'd like you to do a natural science experiment, testable, repeatable, observable, documentable, and measurable. It's go to talk to some of these groups that are, say, they're freedom fighters or whatever for the cause, and ask them what they promote. Because in Canada, if you promote the Charter of Rights and Fundamental Freedoms, you are controlled opposition because you're ignoring the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights is not an act like the Charter. And the Bill of Rights can't be tampered with. It has been twice now in the past since its birth, but it improved the bill. It hasn't really destroyed it. But the Charter is set up right off the bat to take our rights away from us. It doesn't even recognize that we have human rights. It doesn't recognize that, it limits our rights right off the top. And the first word on it says these rights are guaranteed. Well, we discovered here in the last year and a half since the Ottawa meltdown there in Ottawa that guarantee means like you're buying a used toaster and there's going to be conditions attached to that guarantee. And then the first clause of the Charter says the government can actually take these rights away from you whenever they seem fit. That's how dangerous that Charter is. So that's when we discovered, well, I do it for quite a while, but we really promoted the fact that if any of these groups in Canada that are going for the freedom, I don't even like to say freedom fighters, but are going for the freedom cause and liberty, if they're promoting the Charter, they are definitely controlled because they're totally ignoring the Bill of Rights, which actually is the protector. It's a bill, it's not an act. And it's kind of like legal and lawful, but it's right there self-evident right off the first word says you're guaranteed, and then in the first paragraph of the Charter it says they can take your rights from you whenever the government sees fit. It's up to them.
It's just both of them are just stupid pieces of paper written by dead man, given a power of authority by a popularity contest. So I don't give a shit. I can write shit on a piece of paper all day long. It doesn't mean anything. A popularity contest doesn't give somebody the right to tell me what I can and can't do as long as I'm not harming any of my neighbors.
Well, you know what? Norm, you're kind of true only on partially. You just gave a partial truth. These rights that are put on paper are there to protect you, if you believe them or not. Like if you want liberty, you got to have a piece of paper.
A piece of paper protects you.
I don't want to get into this symbolic, okay? But it's already written down. You're wrong on this, though, and I've already proved that this piece of paper protected me because I'm going to take 4 cops to small claims court, and I'm going to be taking 3 fucking judges because they violated my rights, and they know they're scared. They know it. They're refusing to give me the transcripts of all my court cases because I caught the judges breaking the fucking law, committing felonies in a public court. And that little piece of paper, that little piece of paper is what I'm using as a tool against them for breaking the law. See,
we already broke the law. The piece of paper didn't protect you in the first place.
Exactly. And I'm going to use the piece of paper to enforce the law.
Whoever has the most right has the most rights. If I have a nuclear weapon, ain't nobody going to come take any rights from me. You can see this with the United States going around all over the world and bombing the shit out of anybody. Nobody's stopping them from going against people's right to live. They're bombing children. We've seen that with WikiLeaks, and no piece of paper is stopping them. Only thing that gives you rights are mights. If I have the bigger gun, ain't nobody going to come take my rights away from me. And only you can protect them, not a piece of paper. And you can say that this is protecting you, but it's after the fact, and there is no such thing as justice after the fact. There's only a justice in the moment or justice through God at the end. There's no justice through man with a piece of paper. And think, I don't, you can believe whatever you want on that. I'm not falling for any of that shit. I don't know.
That's your prerogative, right? But it's a piece of paper that says we can have guns here in Canada, and they're trying to use another piece of paper saying they can take it away.
I have the right.
People in America can keep guns because of a stupid piece of paper. If you believe in the paper or not, abnormal, that's your perspective.
I have the gun in my hand, and somebody has that piece of paper. What are you going to do with a piece of paper? What are you going to do with a piece of paper when I have a gun in my hand? If I have the gun in my hand already, you ain't going to do nothing with a piece of paper because I have the gun.
Paper and the gun like you, then what?
What? I can write it out here. I'll write it down. Okay, I'm decreeing it right now. I'm having a little popularity contest, and I'm decreeing I have the right to have guns. Right there.
Yeah, you do, but there's a piece of paper saying you do have the right to get.
I know. I just wrote it
down again. All you're doing is duplicating what's already written. That's all you're doing.
I see what you're saying, Patriot. But the thing is that when it comes down to it, that piece of paper that we have in America. Look at all the people. Look at that dude who got shot the other day. 5 or 6 cops go out and shoot him, kill him. The piece of paper didn't help him. The other day, there was another guy who was outside his grandma's house. They shot 30 bullets at him. The piece of paper didn't save him, okay? And I'm not saying that the piece of paper can't be used as a tool to fight against them. I'm saying that if they wanted to, they'd take your ass out. They would just take your ass out. They'll throw you in a cell and you'll be in there indefinitely. Like, they have ways to go about this. You don't have the might. They have the might. And they will continue to have the might because nobody's going to go against them. I see what you're saying.
You know what?
Sorry,
the,
I'm not
smallest flea, the smallest flea can drive the biggest fucking dog nuts. One fucking flea can drive the biggest dog fucking crazy.
Not by playing by the dog. Not if it's playing. Only if the flea is playing by its own rules and not playing by their rules. If
it's a flea, it's a flea. So it's got its own prerogative, its own nature, its own fucking
but the flea has nothing. The flea doesn't do anything to a plant.
Can drive the biggest fucking dog nuts. And that's what all
only
these
does it to a dog. Playing by the dog's rules doesn't do anything to a plant. A plant just laughs at the flea. It doesn't do anything to the flea.
Okay, then what about an aphid then? An aphid likes the plant and it starts
does
chewing
nothing
on
to a dog.
It
doesn't do anything to a
okay,
dog. You're just proving my point.
But
But I'm proving the point is that if you're playing by the rules and saying I'm living by this piece of paper, then you're automatically going into their jurisdiction by saying I agree with this paper. I'm going to have this paper back me up. Why do you even need the piece of paper? The aphid does nothing to the dog, and the flea does nothing to the plant because the plant and the dog are not playing in the same rules and the same structure system.
It's a nature law. Then we're both kind of right, but we're both wrong because nature has the right. The flea to go attack the dog or the aphid to go attack the plant. But without this piece of paper, you're saying that I can't even say you're a sovereign, but you're just on your own. It says on the United States Constitution, we the people agreed to this piece of paper to make sure that we have these rights. Without that piece of paper, one person, it's worse than the Wild West. Actually, it's actually worse than what it was in the Wild West because there's always has to be the rule of law. A good farmer, an old farmer told me once, there's always a pecking order, Wayne. Chickens have a pecking order. Moose, you watch this when you get your chickens. You'll find that there'll be one hen who's the boss. This is a natural piece of law. Cows do it all the time. There's always bosses. There's right?
the perfect example for might and rights.
That's the law of nature, having that, putting that out. There's always going to be a leader out of the bunch, and there's going to be the followers. We see that there's natural law happening. We see all the people following to get the jibber jabbers, and that's few. We used our common sense. We didn't need a piece of paper. I agree. There's your point, is making it valid, is that we chose not to. We didn't need a piece of paper not to take the jibber jabber.
Who is we? I never did that. I never did that. So I don't want to be in the we.
That proves your point, though, Abnorm.
And so is the pecking order part.
A piece of paper that we, the people, agree that we have these certain rights. You're just an individualist, is the way I look at it. And then that there's no common ground. There's no rule of law. And that's why we're the toppest on the food chain on this earth. But yet we pay to live here. Monkeys don't pay to fucking go swing in the bushes and eat bananas. Fish don't pay to go swim up the stream. We're the only species that does that. And
yeah, but the difference is if they want to get rid of the monkeys, they just cut down all the trees and get rid of the monkeys. They kill them all. If they want the land, they'll take the land. Like,
okay,
it's the might. It goes back to the might. It goes back to the might thing. It's not a piece of paper that saves the Amazon. The Amazon doesn't get saved by a piece of paper, man. It gets saved by might. You know, people actually have to stand up and fight for the things that they're trying to save. And whether that's as an individual or as a group of people, you still have to have more might than the opposition. Otherwise, you will not win.
I don't know about that one, Moose. Because like I say, it comes back to that rule of nature. The smallest flea can drive the biggest dog nuts.
But it can't.
There's always going to be that hen that has a pecking order that gets to go to the food trough first. It's just part of nature. It's like the rule of law. There's these rules. And we've put it on a piece of paper that we agree that these rules should be maintained.
Do you believe in a higher power, Patriot?
What's that?
Do you believe in a higher power?
Yeah, I believe in our creator.
Okay, so do you believe that our rights are from him or the higher
No,
power, or do you believe our
no.
rights are from a piece of paper? Like honestly.
It starts right with God, God's law. See, there's that rule of law again that I keep talking about. The rule of law. It's everywhere. It's in nature. Our Creator granted the rules of law through Him, right? We're not supposed to be going harming children. That's against God's rules. That's against God's law. We're
But
not
yet it
supposed to be
happens.
doing jibby jabber because that's messing with His creation. That's why all them people that took the jibby jabber, a preacher told me, they're never going to be able to go before God because they broke one of His laws. And my Christian friend, he's devoted. He goes to church all the time, and I don't. I just read the book. And he keeps telling me, "Oh, we read this in the New Testament this week." And for the last year and a half, I says, well, "Has your preacher ever read the Old Testament? Because there's some rules in there that the New Testament saying you're going to be forgiven for, but you broke the fucking rules in the beginning of the fucking rule book." And people don't seem to understand that we do have rules. There's law. We do have rights given to us by our Creator. And yeah, it's on a piece of paper, but if you don't have that type of pecking order, that rule of law, it's like anarchy, rules without rulers. But we have to have these rules. And if they're on a piece of paper, this actually benefits us because of what God did in Babylon. He's got such a humor. They were building the Tower of Babylon, and he goes, "Okay, you Formans, I won't restrict you on anything. I'll let you, whatever your brains can conceive, I won't restrict you." But you know what God did? He changed the languages the next morning. And could you imagine all these foremans and superintendents had the idea on how to build a Tower of Babylon, to get up to go to God's into heaven, to smash the firmament and go kill God, be God themselves, and God changed the languages. And could you imagine all these superintendents, foremans, and they're trying to describe how to put a 2x4 into, or whatever, a block or whatever to build this tower, and they can't even communicate. And that's because God
Sounds pretty psychotic to me, Patriot Canadian. That sounds like a pretty psychotic God you're describing there. I don't know quite if we want to rely on that. A God that mystifies and creates mysterious division among human beings and separates us by language and tribes so that we can never come together. That sounds like a dark God to me.
Have you read the Bible?
Yes.
Okay then. So yes. Okay then. I'm not saying he's kind and
so he's not all loving.
He's vicious.
And a liar.
He's somebody to be feared, or something to be feared. Fear God, because you mess with him. He's the one who put us here. He made all this.
He's a liar, right? He's a liar. He's a double talker. He's a double standarder.
Really, you think that?
The God of the Old Testament, for sure. I actually just shared this on my.
He didn't like the Sodomites. He didn't like people harming fucking children. So how would that be? Yeah,
is that right?
He didn't like the Sodomites.
How about the firstborn sons of Egypt? They were children, and he sent the angel of death to wipe them out.
But how does God can't kill? God can't murder. He started it, so how could he murder something that he created?
He sent the angel of death to kill all those children.
And it's only an instant of time, and we don't know what's after. Maybe it was the best thing. We can't. How could we even say that? And doesn't Satan have a role? Does God do it, or is it like like Job?
God literally sends the angel of death.
Mm-hmm.
So right, but then I would flip that back on you. Then so God's doing everything that's occurring today, and there's a responsible for it. So we shouldn't really complain about all that today, then as well either.
Everything happens for a reason.
The crimes and the atrocities we see, and when children are blown up in wars, we should have the same attitude and say, "Hey,
who's responsible for it?" Though everybody's responsible for it. For instance, every voter has got blood on their hands for every war that their country and every atrocity that their government and state does, because if you participate in the popularity contest that gives somebody else power to represent you and have your voice, then that is partially blood on your hands.
And no one would have more blood on his hands than God, because he's all powerful and he could have stopped any of this, but he allowed it all to occur.
So the people that were doing this aren't following him and his rules. Did you put that into your equation?
God loves all creatures, and he loves Satan is one of his greatest angels, he's going to give Satan every opportunity and to come right, and also to dig his hole to the very end, where it's the point where it's a breaking point. God is allowing it to happen, but we're allowing it to happen to ourselves. Sin is within us. We're the ones making these decisions, not God. If we lived by God's rules, there would be none of this stuff.
If you saw a guy that was about to murder, if you saw a guy that was about to murder a child in front of you, would you allow that to happen?
No.
So your morality.
No, I would like to say no, but I don't know. I've been in places where I want to say no, but honestly, I've been in those positions before, and I didn't stand up, not in that particular position, but I didn't stand up for what was right. And I didn't stop a person from hitting their dog or child because I didn't have the courage to stand up, because I thought about being ridiculed or whatever in my past.
Right. So but why doesn't, and I hear that, and we're all in those situations, and I know what you're saying, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm just saying your impulse is to say, yes, I would. So in some ways, God, your morality is stronger than the God you believe in.
How so?
Because God has the power, if he's omniscient, omnipresent, all loving and all powerful, he could change it however he wanted to, and he doesn't. So God is a coward like us.
So, but then if he does that, then there's no such thing as free will, and we don't have we don't have the ability to control our own destiny, because then God would jump in and just say, "Oh, you can't do this to this child," and it doesn't work out. Then there's no free will. There's no without free will. There's no love for God. There's no way to. Then it was just everybody would automatically love God, and we would just be in that. There would be no purpose for any of this stuff. It wouldn't be the way it is. We would just be slaves.
And that's always where this discussion goes to, is that the free will becomes the cost of all this. But if we look in our own lives, the window of free will actually gets pretty small the more we analyze all factors of cause and effect, determinism. So we've got a small window of free will. And then even if we apply a practical sense to the conversation when we're raising our children and this sort of thing, and I've had this discussion many times. It's interesting. I'm not saying right or wrong or absolutely. And it's like the free will. Well, would you leave a loaded weapon out around children and say, well, I'm not going to lock it up. I'm not going to do take the necessary precautions because free will, would you use free will as a justification for that behavior? Well, no, of course not. You got to secure certain things around children who don't understand, and we're in much of the same position. And my only point in all this, if it's like, I'm not trying to discount anyone's belief in God, in the Abrahamic traditions or anything like that. My only point is in all these discussions of conspiracy or this or that or the problems of the world or spirituality, there seems to be a missing component, a hidden factor, some factor that we're not quite understanding or we haven't quite taken into account that explains why we're in such a fucked up situation. That's all I'm saying. That there's some inherent contradictions, because you even see that in the discussion of the paper or the natural laws and all these things. It's like there's something we're missing, that we're not able to right the wrongs. We're not able to get ourselves on, a healthy trajectory. And so I think some of these foundational beliefs of God and all this stuff might be the cause of that. Is all I'm thinking about. I'm not even telling anyone that. I'm just thinking about it myself. We're
not supposed to kill. We're supposed to love thy neighbor. Right? That's one of God's rules. Love the children, respect our elders. The 10 Commandments are just simple rules. If we all followed those simple rules, not even putting God into the equation, just those simple rules, Earth would be a much better place. Right? But we're not following by these simple rules, like that simple piece of paper, the Bill of Rights. The government doesn't even recognize it here in Canada. You have to fight with them to recognize it. But when you make them, you force them, you impose the rule of law on them. Now that piece of paper benefits me, and I can prove it in the court of law. I've got case law now that proves that provincial laws can't interfere with my Bill of Rights. The
But
courts
check
are
this thing out,
scared.
like with the laws. Just for example, and this one just comes to mind because I was just discussing it earlier in the week. But in Genesis 3, Adam and Eve are told that if they even touch the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that they will die immediately. And then they go and they eat it and they don't die and they become unto God.
What does it say immediately?
Yeah. If you read the text, it's implied immediately, and that's the little trick the devil plays, is that he's like, no, you'll be fine, go ahead and touch it, and then they do, and it's good, and they have the knowledge of good and evil. So
go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
I would suggest that we're all Adam and Eve. We were all there at one point in time. We all chose to bite from the I think the Adam and Eve is just a representation of all of us, and we can see that in our daily lives when we make the wrong decisions in our life. That's us biting the apple one more time. It's the proof that we did do that. And I think that's only an analogy for what is. And I have my own idea and comprehension of the Bible and other spiritual books, but I don't necessarily think that everyone else should follow what I've come to understand. And I think we all have our own paths and our own experiences that will lead us to our moral values. And
but God's kind of like government in that instance, right? Where government's like, don't do this or shit's gonna get wild, and then we do the thing that they tell us not to do, and the punishment isn't really like what they say, right? Like, and this, I've heard Paul talk about this, and I've heard many people talk about this. They go to prison and they become the best version of themselves. It doesn't break them down; it builds them up. It becomes the opposite. It was the best thing that could have happened to me. It wasn't the worst thing. So I'm just pointing out that our belief in the Judeo-Christian system seems to mirror a lot of what we see going on with the government, of course, and the laws and all that. That's all I'm saying.
I got to make a point here. This is really valid to what you just said. And actually, I wanted to bring this up when Moose was talking about the same scenario about what's going on Earth this morning. And I have to bring this up. At the Ottawa protests, at the Freedom Convoy, or that solidarity movement, it was based on love, liberty, and freedom. The government left bricks on the street when there was probably at least 1 million, maybe 700,000 people in Ottawa. And they left bricks on purpose, just like the government did in St. Louis and Missouri and Minneapolis. The only difference is that the people in Ottawa, and this is where it gets not to be racist, majority were white, loving Christian Judo-Christian values. Nobody touched those bricks. But in St. Louis and Minneapolis, the government left the bricks for the Black people. And they didn't exercise their critical thinking. They were not there about love, freedom, and solidarity and peace. Guess what that group of people did? Rioted, looted.
But so
burned.
The government was good to do that, Patriot Canadian,
right.
just like God. The government was good to put those bricks out there and test those people.
It's that this one group of people that was there for liberty, freedom, and peace and love, and to spread that with bouncy castles and children playing street hockey in front of Terry Fox Memorial. It is a huge difference. Because the government did leave these white folks, these Christian valued folks, the bricks there to do destruction. And nobody touched those bricks. None of these white folk. And they were Black folk there, they were East Indians, but you go down to what, then go factor in, put this into the equation, what happened in St. Louis and Missouri with the Black Lives Matter thing. The government left them bricks, and what did those people do?
I have a question for you.
I have one too after that.
Do you think that there's a possibility that those bricks were put there at a specific time, giving a certain group of people more time to see those bricks and possibly use those bricks versus the other one? Because if you control the narrative and you control how long those bricks are there and you control what's firing up the crowd, it could possibly be used as a diversion tactic. You know what I mean? Do
Sly
you see what I'm
Shy said
saying
it her
here?
best herself. Sly Shy 58 said it best herself. She said, when the government left those bricks for our people, what did you expect us to do? If you had Christian values and you loved your neighbor, you wouldn't be picking up bricks and destroying your neighbor's business and burning the buildings down and burning police stations down. You should have been there. Them people should have been there for unity, solidarity, and love and peace. That would have been a much more better demonstration than burning and looting two cities.
In
Come
Canada,
on. That's
in
all my point.
Canada,
That's all I'm
we
saying.
haven't been attacked by our own government. In St. Louis, it's been proven that the government.
You're naive.
Oh, we've been attacked by our own government. We didn't bomb. We weren't bombed. We can't be proven to be bombed. St. Louis was
Hold on,
bombed by their
Patriot,
own
hold on.
government. We were not bombed. Where were you? Where did you ever see any bombs dropped by the Canadian government on Canadians? In St. Louis, it happened. It is proven fact.
Yeah, it happened several times.
So
They
it's a
bombed
little bit
Fort
different
Hudson,
for
didn't
people
they?
who have been bombed and have a great
But who got
animosity
bombed
towards.
in St. Louis right before the St. Louis and Missouri riots? Who got bombed, Abnorm? Who got bombed? I don't remember anybody getting bombed. Abnorm, don't change.
You
We're
want
being
to-
specific here, okay?
No, we're not. I'm being
Come on now.
as
You're
if-
really derailing the conversation.
really?
to
Really?
something
Think
that
about it.
happened
All right, one at
previous
a
to what
time,
happened
folks.
in Ottawa.
Patriot,
something that
let
happened
Abnorm
previously
speak
to St.
too.
Louis and Missouri at the Black Lives Matter.
Hey, Patriot Canadian, it's no measure of health to be well adjusted to a sick society. And we had been bombing people. Our country in the United States had been bombing people for those people's whole life. And just because maybe it wasn't happening on their street at a particular time, we killed 1 million Iraqi innocent women and children.
And you allowed that.
So again, we're reaping what we sow in this country. We are in an incredibly violent country. But again, the pacifism that you're championing against the tyranny that you are under isn't any sort of great thing to be excited about.
And loving is not pacifism.
As your whole country was losing all their rights, that's not a good measure of anything.
Patriot, I'm going to tell you one more time. When someone else is talking, don't talk over them. It's disrespectful. And if you have something to say, you can wait until they stop. Just be respectful, bro. Jesus.
Like I don't get
the
point. So you shouldn't be protesting anything, Patriot Canadian. Just take what the government gives you. Go with those pieces of paper. Well, what are you complaining about then?
Pacifism is not peaceful. Is peaceful, loving. It's not. Protesting is not pacifism, but protesting properly is done. If it's done right, doesn't turn into what happened in St. Louis, Missouri. Right?
Well,
like I keep my point.
I, for one, am closer to that.
Hey, there you go, interrupting me when I'm speaking. The government left bricks for the Canadians to go and cause trouble. But we weren't there to cause trouble. We were there to spread peace, love, harmony, demanding freedom and liberty. St. Louis and Missouri, or St. Louis and Minneapolis. Then people got left bricks. What was the result? Rioting, looting, burning down businesses, not spreading love, not trying to save their neighbor's business. And even Slash, I said it herself. The government left the bricks for us. What did you expect us to do? That was her own words. The government left the white folk up in Ottawa bricks. What did they do? We started setting up bombs.
God left.
There's a huge difference, and you're trying to
knowledge of good and evil in the middle of the garden. Told me not to touch it.
I don't care if you're a violent country. You guys had a violent history forever. But you go down in Texas, for example. Here's a good example. Like that black fella went to rob that restaurant with a toy gun. Where was this critical thinking living in Texas, going into a restaurant where everybody has a gun? He could get away with that stuff in California. He could get away with that in Seattle and Oregon, but he ain't going to get away with it in Texas. Where's the critical thinking of all the people, even in mass, like Black Lives Matter, St. Louis, Missouri, and Minneapolis?
But Patriot, we're going off. Abnorm hasn't had a chance to speak on the brick thing, so we're switching. So what's up, Abnorm?
But pacifism is not what you're trying to promote it to be. It's loving, peaceful. Love thy neighbor. These simple rules. Don't cause harm. But that didn't happen. There's a huge difference. And one last thing, and then I'll shut up for a while. I still want to be on top. Right after that, Sly said that on Larry's channel, I got bombarded with black people rioting, beating up people, scraps at Subway with black people, black people fighting in front of a grocery store or a gas station. It was just nonstop. And I don't ever recall seeing the other folks, even the Asians, do this stuff. They don't do that.
Well, maybe we can just round them all up, Patriot Canadian, and ship them back to Africa, and we can have our white paradise here in North America. It's a tired conversation, man.
There's only 11% of the United States. 11% of the United States is black. 47% prison rate for black skinned folks in the United States. You can look at any other country, including Canada. They don't have anywhere near the same numbers. So to think that it's a skin color difference is absolutely nonsense. There's no difference. If you're blind, you wouldn't know the difference. You can have a black person's heart in you. If you needed a transplant, it's not going to change who you are. And the outcome, we're all individuals. And the black people of the United States have been completely oppressed for hundreds of years. And you can't blame them for wanting to fight back when the bricks are there and they don't know how to take it out. You think it's the skin? You think it's the skin, Patriot? You think that skin color has something to do with this?
Red Pill Phil Brown had a really good comment, and it was in Asia, in China exactly. They've been under communist rule now for how long? Over 100,000 years. They've been bred into their gene. Don't interrupt me when I'm speaking, please. It's been bred into their gene to be submissive and docile. Okay. Now you look at the African Americans that came over and the Irish. Can't forget that the Irish, there's just as many Irish slaves as there was as black folk. But you don't see the Irish burning down buildings because some Irish guy got killed in a pub by a white cop. There's just as many white people get shot and stuff every day, but it's not in the mainstream
Irish
media.
car bombs there, Patriot Canadian did.
Yeah, well, that's
the IRA was on the fucking
you go back to the protest. There's been protests, violent protests in the United States going way back, right? That's part of your culture.
No measure of a.
It's no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Yes, I don't get the point.
If you're going to say things like if you're going to make points, you should stop after. I would suggest that you should stop after the point that you're making. If you're saying the fact that the Chinese communists have been communists for 100,000 years, which is absolutely nonsense, then you can only expect to be.
I didn't say 100,000 years. They've been communists for a long time. How long? 1,000 years.
How long? 1,000 years? How long? When have you been to Asia?
Before the dynasty, did they have freedoms and liberties? We don't even know because it's his story. So.
And you haven't never been there before.
We'll just go back to when Mao was in there and he killed 60 million of them. All the ones after he took their guns so they couldn't revolt against him. And then he killed 60 million.
And according to you, Patriot, don't you see the contradiction what you're saying? According to you, when Mao was doing all that, they should have just been peacefully walking through the streets and bounty houses and being very peaceful about it.
He got rid of the 60 million that stood up against him. All the rest did what?
Right. So what should they have done?
So there you go, Yurt. Come on, that's a fact now. That's a fact, Yurt.
Right. And so they could have fixed that. They could have fixed that with bounty houses and peaceful parades through the city.
Not when they came to take the guns. See, it'll be the same thing in Canada when they come to take our guns. There'll be that precipice, Yurt, a precipice point where everything shit goes downhill. This is like when the black folk got pushed so far and they've been mainstream media said, oh, it's only black people getting killed by the cops, which is not true. White folks get shot by the cops all the time, daily, but it's not on the mainstream media. And so they selectively decided that, yeah, we're going to pick up these bricks and we're going to destroy my neighbor's business, burn it to the ground, destroy police stations because, well, we were suppressed for all these years. And then so you look at Tiananmen Square, all them people that protested, nobody's heard from them after that in 1989. So they always weed out the ones that are going to be standing up. I'm on that list. I don't fear that it's going to happen, but I stand up to these fuckers. You know, and to make more sense, I don't know if I think Abnormal will have the balls to stand up, but I don't think you do. I don't think
All right.
when the shit hits the fan,
Now-
I don't think it'll happen.
Now
Moose?
you gotta pause for a second. You gotta pause, dude. You go on and you monologue a lot, Patriot. I have love
Well,
for
I'm
you, bro,
sorry.
but you're
Well, we
monologuing.
do
So
change the subject
check
very
this out.
rapidly on this panel.
Well, that's the thing. You gotta
Yeah, man,
stick to
whatchamacallit
one.
wants
Chuck
to-
is
Chuck
down there
wants to open
trying to
his
get a
mouth.
word in,
Yeah.
man.
Let's
So calm
let
down.
Chuck speak.
Jesus Christ.
All right.
Oh,
Tell me
that's so-
tell me what event you're talking about in St. Louis.
Operation Lack.
What event in St. Louis?
Operation Lack, is that the
Yeah.
one I'm talking about, where they're bombing their own citizens? Operation to disperse microscopic zinc cadmium sulfide particles over parts of the United States in order to test dispersal patterns, and there's been also other bombings in St. Louis where they've attacked project buildings. I'm not sure.
I was asking Patriot. I'm
Oh,
sorry. I was
You're talking
asking
Black Lives
Patriot
Matter.
about. Yeah. Tell me about this event.
I agree with that. Norm said in Philadelphia they bombed like 7 city blocks or something.
No, I'm talking about St. Louis.
Okay, but in St.
I'm
Louis,
from St. Louis.
yeah,
I'm
well, didn't
from
you guys
St.
have
Louis.
some riots down there? Didn't you have some riots down there? Because we seen on the mainstream media on
What
CTV
year?
News that they were rioting in St. Louis. So there, how many St.
Was that-
Louis's are there?
Was it when the fella got shot by the cop,
Yeah,
Michael Brown?
yeah. Was
Is
there
that what
not
you're talking
riots?
about?
Though? Was there riots?
Yes, there was.
Okay, then. So
And there was
question
other riots. However, it was proven through the local media there that there were U-Haul trailers that were brought in by activists that were full of signs, bricks, bottles, Molotov cocktails that were staged by outside activists to inflate the issue, to make
Yeah,
the issue worse than it was.
You know what? I sorry to interrupt, Chuck. It turns out that these activists that you're talking about were funded by George Soros, who funds Black Lives Matters, who started those riots.
Yeah, Soros was one that
Yeah.
paid for
And
it.
guess who participated in that? All them peoples that were rioting and looting.
So did
So they didn't use
Soros
their critical
paint
thinking
his
skills.
skin? Did he paint his skin black and go out there? Because you said it was black people doing this. So if they're not exactly the ones footing the bill for this, and they're not the ones busting people in, we're talking controlled opposition here. We're not just talking
Exactly.
about
Yep.
the citizens
Yep.
of the city, but you're painting a whole entire culture of people as bad people when they're merely part of
No.
pawns on a chessboard. Yes,
And my
Patriot.
larger point here
They
is
choose to be
hold
that
on,
way,
Patriot
though,
Canadian, you're hijacking the whole conversation. My whole larger
Jesus.
point is who of this didn't know about George Soros? Who in this conversation didn't know about the bricks that were on the ground? What part of this information is new or relevant or poignant to anyone in this conversation? Who didn't know this stuff?
Good
That was
point.
2017. 2017, 6
2017.
years ago. You're talking about something that happened 6 years ago.
You don't study history, you just
I
do to
lived
repeat it
there.
here.
We don't. You're missing the point. We do study history. We studied it in 2017 while it was going on. We already heard about George Soros and the bricks and all that.
And
Yeah,
really,
okay.
what it comes down
And
to
my
the fundamental
point, see, you're derailing the point. Okay, what happened?
the
is my
fundamental point that you
We
made
did
with the
not
difference
take-
between St. Louis and Canadians was that the color of skin, and that's why Canadians and their Christian background is why that they didn't fight back, or that they didn't pick up the bricks and utilize them. But in St. Louis, they did because of their skin color, which is absolutely nonsense.
Yeah,
Who
because
did that?
and
What-
what
no,
Because there was
religion-
lots of
hold on,
black
one more
people.
point, Patriot Canadian, then you can monologue again. And what religion were those black people? But by the way, majority of them.
Canadian.
Christian.
What were they? How do you know that? If they study, they were. No,
how do
can't
you
call
know?
yourselves Christians. Hey, I'm speaking. I'm going to reply now. If they were good Christians, they wouldn't have picked up the brick, rioted, looted, and burnt their neighbor's business down.
Good Christians.
Right.
No,
Yeah, okay. Well, wouldn't you say those were Christians
If
and
you
rioting
don't
and
like the
looting?
behavior of the Christian, then they're no longer Christian. It's called the no true Scotsman fallacy. That's what Christians do all the time. If it behaves in a way you don't agree with, they weren't true Christians.
Even though all Christians are sinners.
I love the way you can twist words. You're getting as good as Paul. I just love it. You're still skipping over.
Hey,
the
I
fact,
take that as a
okay?
compliment.
Thanks for interrupting me.
I take that as a compliment. You're right.
Too. I would too.
Y'all missing the fact is that there were riots and that stuff going down. It was going down. There wasn't white folk that were doing it.
Look,
Okay?
Dad, I just want to wave the
That's
white
why it was
flag
called
to
the
you, man.
Black Lives Matter movement. It wasn't the All Lives Matter movement.
You're
It
the
specified
best
as one
monologuer we
group of
have.
people because they knew that they weren't educated enough and smart enough to know better, and they didn't follow God's law by loving thy neighbor. And you're shaking your head. I don't care. That's my point of view, my perspective. None of that would have happened if we all would have had more unity, more solidarity, and loving thy neighbor, and caring for each other. Even
Hey, man, if we're just full of love, man, we can do this, man. I've waved the white flag. All right, you won. You won this discussion.
The point of argument is supposed to be progress, not winning. And I want
Well,
progress.
there's going to be no progress here.
That we keep making in past. It's like we don't study history.
You keep saying we. There's no we here. It's I and I and I over here and I over there.
We're not voting correctly then. I and I and I and I. We're not doing our job then. We've failed.
There's no we here, dude.
You can say you failed, but you can't say I failed. You certainly don't know anything about me.
No, I don't. But on a society level, we have. You can't disagree on that. Like we let children watch drag shows and stuff.
We. There's that we again, dude. You keep using we like.
Do you not allow? What do you? Okay, well then I don't want to be Semitic here, anti-Semitic, or no. What's the word am I looking for?
Racist?
No.
That's a close one.
I'm not trying to be on one side here.
Well, the whole point you said is that
you guys, we. Paul says we. I caught him multiple times, but as a group, we the people on that piece of paper agreed to those rules. Do you not now that you're saying we, Moose? You don't agree to the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all its amendments? That's we the people.
But did I say I don't agree with a rule of law or it's not we though? There's no
wrote
we
that
in
Constitution and they were slave-holding men. So again, we're right back to the point you're proving. So why would we support a document that was written by hypocrites?
Who was the first slave owner? A black guy. Who sold that black man slave?
Oh man! All right, we got a neo-Nazi on the panel here, folks.
It's like, so what? Okay, so great. So okay, they're bad too. You
guys want to keep bringing it? And well, back to the we thing. I know you guys think it's funny because you're all individualists. Okay, and I am too, and slightly, but I do believe in a sort of something that we got to love our neighbor, help thy neighbor. That's we. In return, stuff when we do that, it starts spreading like smiling. When we smile at one another, what happens? And that's we. That's the type of we I'm talking about.
Does it matter of the color of the skin or
so much individualism? But it was a certain group of people that did things, right? You guys don't want to agree to that? That's fine. That's your prerogative. But that did happen. His story says that happened. It wasn't a whole bunch of white people doing it. And you guys don't want to agree with me on that, but that is a fact. It didn't happen in Ottawa, but all the same tools were left there for them group of people.
Two different places, two different, completely different setups, completely different histories.
That group of people who said we was there for a certain reason.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my point in here on this slavery thing. So it's my turn. So the Catholic Church was a big proponent in slavery. Okay, the Catholic Church is predominantly pale-skinned people. Okay, before that, there was the Moors and the Egyptians and the Chinese. There's been slavery of all different cultures. We need to stop trying. Not we. This ain't no we. You need to stop painting a whole culture of people and race or whatever you want to call it as being the ones that are doing this. It's not. It literally is not. Just because on paper they say the first person to send slaves over was black, right? Well, there was slavery before that, brother, and there was slavery after that. There's still slavery going on. The person that made your phone is probably enslaved. Okay, he's in a factory where he can't jump out the building because there's nets sitting there. So let's stop using the black people as a scapegoat, because they're not. They may have, there's maybe people that make mistakes, but they are all individuals. They are not a group. They are all individuals, and they all choose what they choose to do. There are bad people of all colors and all creeds.
Diogenes was a slave in 300 BC. So, I mean, slavery's been around for a long, long time. And to say that you could go back in history and say it was a black-skinned or any skinned person that started this stuff is going by someone else's. We weren't there. You're going by someone else's word of mouth. We all have the ability to do right and wrong things, no matter what our skin color is. There's a completely different atmosphere and history when it comes to black people in the United States in St. Louis or in Canada. There was black dark-skinned people on the streets of Ottawa that didn't pick up bricks. There was all sorts of different races that didn't pick up bricks in Canada. And there was white people in the Black Lives Matter who did pick up the bricks.
And I don't even get what his point is, that we tolerated our higher level of tyranny better up here.
Are you in Canada too?
No, I'm saying from his perspective. I'm not in Canada. Oh. But is that the perspective?
Oh, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah, what?
That's what I'm getting from it. Yeah.
Yeah, why is that a good point? We were more peaceful and had greater levels of tyranny up here.
Hey, I actually want to know, because like now we should start talking about the poverty level in Canada. Is the poverty level in Canada and the way the cops treat people in Canada, is there any correlation between the way cops are treating, African Americans or Black Americans in America?
Yes. Yep. It's nearly. Go ahead, Patriot Canadian.
The difference between what happened in Ottawa is because it was about love, harmony.
Love.
There was. People said they could feel it. They never experienced anything like that in their lives. And people started around the world recognizing this, and it spread.
We just love that tyranny, boy. This tyranny made us feel so loving out here.
Please, Yurt.
But please, Patriot Canadian.
You're going to interrupt me. I try not to do that to you, but you do it to me.
But you do.
The majority of the people that were there in Ottawa spreading love and unity didn't, all colors of skin, they were there for that. And there's a them people there, we showed that. And it was a threat to the government because it was spreading internationally. Now you go back, what happened to the majority of the people in St. Louis and in Missouri were white color.
Yeah, we had less tyranny. They did that, and we had less tyranny here in the Midwest.
Come on.
No. Here in the Midwest and in Missouri, no, because this is where I'm at. We weren't doing any of that shit around here, Patriot Canadian, where we were throwing bricks and setting shit on fire. We weren't doing any of that here.
I meant Minneapolis, where the riot was. Did he not have a riot?
Oh, so now we're jumping states. Comparatively, I would take Minnesota.
I just made a mistake. I'm willing to admit that I made a mistake between Missouri and Minneapolis. But it was St.
But
Louis.
You're missing. Hold on. Let you do this, Tommy.
Interrupt me again. It wasn't these riots though that happened over the Black Lives Matter thing where the Moose is just laughing.
Because it's goofy. You're not even getting the contradiction of the point, Patriot Canadian. You're not getting the point. Your ability to love your tyranny to us, to the people you're speaking with, is not a mark of a good attribute that any of us want to have. Your comfort with tyranny is not something we're praising. The collective we of this panel right now. No one on this panel is like, oh, tyranny's coming in. Let's be peaceful and loving and kumbaya. None of us feel that way. Or from what I can tell. I say I don't feel that way. When tyranny came, I didn't feel loving. I was like, ooh, this is really loving.
Well, I could say something on that. I think that violence should be the last option, and every peaceful avenue should be explored before getting into the area of violence. But violence does solve things, and it solves things really quick. It just is not always the best way to go about things. And if it happens again similar in Canada, they will be picking up the bricks. It'll be the first thing that they do, because they've tried that avenue before and got trampled with horses. And it goes to my point where in St. Louis they've been dealing with inner city and in different areas like that. They've been dealing with, like what Moose was saying, where the police treat more impoverished people differently than they treat rich people. There's a big class divide when it comes to the treatment of people, and that will be that way, as it will set that standard in Canada if it happens again, because people won't be going out with bouncy castles. They'll be going out with something else. When peaceful revolution is impossible, violent revolution is inevitable.
Doesn't mean it'll work, though.
No, it doesn't mean it will work. It may be actually the wrong. It might be a trick, and it might be the wrong, the wrong thing, and it might end up being our downfall. But it seems they're going to be pushing that area because there's no other. People in the United States believe in their Constitution, and they believe that it's the land of the free and the home of the brave. So how do you get rid of that in this day and age where they want to bring in complete tyranny without having a revolution inside the country? Because that's what it looks like to me. That's why they're pushing these wars now that the scam has fell apart. But it also looks all contrived, just like the First World War. It's hard to say. Whoever is running this show, which I believe there is someone running the show. Well, yeah. Well, I mean the big show, and I don't know that they're brilliant. They seem to be 2 steps ahead of where we are, or where each one of us is in our understanding of how things work. The truth is stranger than fiction.
Look at our technology. Technology we're using today was developed at least 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we have no idea what they really have present day. I mean, look, what was that first camouflage plane? The F-117. You couldn't see it. It was.
Have you seen the robots, Chuck?
What?
They have these new robots in China, and they can.
The one with the machine gun. Uh-oh. Slave link. Or is it me?
No, it's not you, Chuck. It's Moose.
Slave link, hold me down.
That's why I think Moose is an AI.
I think I am too. So there's robots in China that can liquidize themselves and get through like metal bars and then reform. So it's some kind of RoboCop shit. Look it up, dude. And so this is the kind of stuff that freaks me out. But check this out. I think this whole discussion has taken an hour out of our time. It's never going to get anywhere. We could sit here and we could discuss what happened, who happened, who was the cause, all that stuff, Patriot. But the thing is I'm starting to question your intent here, because we've given you the floor for plenty of time. There's no, just like Jack Talcott, there's no like actual, there's nowhere that we're going to get. There's no finish line, and there's no checkpoint in between these finish lines. So I'm not trying to diss you. I'm just trying to show you that when we have a discussion, we should have some kind of like goal for the discussion, because just talking about this stuff, it's good to get it off your chest. But for an hour and 20 minutes, man, this is I'm laughing because it's going nowhere. It's going down the drain. Maybe I'm wrong.
If I could say something to change the subject a little bit, and because I do have a goal, and an idea that I'd like to put out there. We have a lot of information at our fingertips with cell phones and with the cell phones, computer, and the internet. I think that it would be very advantageous for us, or this is an idea that I have, is to print out a lot of the things that you may need in the future, like how to make bread, how to grind wheat, what are the plants in your area that you can live off of, all these things that you may not be able to store in your head, and at this point in time you can just go on the internet and grab them. It might be an advantage to us in this new dark age that is to come to print out these things and make a folder of things that you may need in the future, life skills that you can't practice necessarily on the spot, but you can then have a little book that you can refer to as a survival book, because there's so much information out there on the internet right now, and we look at it, we take it for granted. But I think it's important to take those things, print them out, and have a book that you can refer to if shit hits the fan.
That's what I do.
That's a great thing to do, I think. And also, to expand on the point of the dark age that I was saying, one flick of the switch and all that information is gone.
I was just thinking that.
It's like the Library of Alexandria at our hands right now, and we take it for granted. One flick of the switch, power goes out, we lose all that information, and that great library burns down. And where are we? We're in the dark ages again. All this history that has happened that we know to be true or that we question is all going to be erased, and it's going to be controlled afterwards by the victors. But if we were to make a time capsule, even who knows if it will ever get dug up, but if we print off the things or tell our story in a journal and put it in a box in the ground, it could be like the Dead Sea Scrolls in hundreds of years. And I think that these are things that we can do, small things that we can do to, at the very least, set a goal, hoping that it will change the future, because it won't be his story, it will be our story in that area.
Yeah. To
that
story, there was a super weird story this week about a huge chunk of the sun breaking off and circling the North Pole of that star that they put out, which I thought was super strange. Seems to be some predictive programming. The headline is "Scientists baffled as huge chunk breaks off of sun." Yeah, that happened just this week. They seem to be prepping that sort of story. I'm gonna roll out of here though too. But peace and power to Patriot Canadian. I got no beef with you or anyone else, man. It's all good, dude. And I'm not trying to have any divisive nature or vibes here, man. It's all cool. But I just,
Neither am I yours.
Yeah, it's all good, dude.
We got to learn from these mistakes.
Yeah.
One thing you got before you go, buddy. You got a dictionary handy?
Yeah, of course. You know I got a dictionary handy, brother.
Yeah, I knew you
would. But why? Why?
Well, I want you to look up solidarity.
What
that definition of that word means.
Well, I know what solidarity means.
Okay, please elaborate the rest of us.
If you know. I'm not going to play, dude. So I give you. So hold on. Check this out, gentlemen, and pay attention to this. I give the example of solidarity by, before I'm getting off here, reaching out to this man and saying peace and power to all of you, and making the actual. I demonstrate actual solidarity as I'm about to get off, and then this man wants to rope me back into an intellectual gotcha game when I clearly know what solidarity means. And now he wants me to perform it. I love you. Peace and power. That's what solidarity means.
Peace and power.
Do something real, get novel. I'm out of here.
Thank you, Austin. I'm about to go too.
Right.
So Abnorm, I think you're right, dude.
Have a good day. I'm sorry if I offended you, and if I did, well, that means you can't control your emotions. There, normal. You're the guy. I never offended you.
No, and you didn't attack my personal character, and I didn't attack your personal character. We're only expressing ideas. I disagree with some of your ideas. You disagree with mine. That's fine, as long as we, at the end of the day, we can still.
Hopefully, we can progress out of this. Like, argument is about progression, being in progress, not about winning. I don't want to win none of these debates. I just informed about history, what happened, and look where it brought. It brought a lot of discussion that you guys don't. It's like you don't believe in us as a group, as just people, as a man and woman, and working together. That is we. That is
No,
we, the people.
that's not true. Like I work with the Rotary Club Patriot, and I do a lot of things in the community to bring the community together to raise money for the community. And yeah, we do that as a group, right? But still, I don't call it a we because
You just said
perform
it. You
I
just said
perform
it.
a
We, the group.
certain
You just said it yourself, though, Moose.
no,
You
I
just
said
said
the
we.
group. I didn't say we the
Go,
group.
you
So
go back,
the
record it.
group
Look, you said
itself.
we.
All right, so I misstepped. I don't believe that we are doing it. I believe that in each individual that comes brings something to the table that does for the greater good. You know, if I was doing it alone, I could still make it happen. If somebody else was doing it alone and I wasn't there, they could still make it happen. Okay, I just don't. I don't want to be roped into these kind of things. You know, I believe in individual rights over anything. So when you start talking papers and all that, I don't think these papers are going to save me on an individual level. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with you, Patriot. I think you like to be right. Um, and that's fine.
That's your
It's not
opinion.
about
That's your
winning.
opinion. That's your opinion and your
Of course,
perspective.
it's my opinion. I don't need
I
you to
hate being
say
right.
it's my
Go ahead,
opinion.
you move.
Everybody here knows it's my opinion. When I talk, it's coming from me, you know? You oftentimes use the words like, "Oh, I triggered you," or "I did this or
I
that."
never said
Well, I
that's a
laugh
lie.
because
That's a lie. I never said I
it
triggered anyone today.
not
I was careful, careful, Moose. I got a really crisp
I
end. I
don't
never,
have to be
if I
careful.
triggered you, or if, like I said, I offended people, then me
See,
and Norm
here we
have
go.
discussed that. So I never triggered. I never said the word trigger. Don't misspeak
I
my
highly
words. That
believe that
same
you
thing
have
happened on the other
narcissistic
show I was at with
tendencies,
Larry.
sir. I
I
The
got
do.
same thing
keys to
happened.
plant, so I'm going to
Okay, I'll
jump
shut up.
off
You
here. I'll
speak, and then
still
I
be
speak,
So
and you
listening.
Chuck,
shut up.
nice seeing you, bro.
Now,
God
I want
bless.
to go back to Abnorm's point that we need to be printing these things out because soon we may not have the access to the internet like we do now. We may not have access to these books. We may have to pack up and move or do something, and we need to have the information available to us so that I'll use the word we as individuals can teach others. Because if you have to raise chickens and you don't know how to do it and you don't have the information on how to do it, how are you supposed to do it properly in a timely fashion? Books help us get through these things. Text helps us learn things. You can learn step by step. If you have the plans on how to build a chicken coop, you can build a chicken coop. If you don't have those plans, it's going to be a lot harder. If you don't
So,
have the go ahead, go ahead.
so isn't that piece of paper the Bill of Rights like a plan to build a chicken coop? You don't look at it that way. Look at it. I'm seeing you guys were talking about the same thing here. I agree. We should. My ancestors, when they came to Canada, we didn't have paper and pen, and they built a sod house, and nobody told them how to do it. They just figured it out and did their own design. There was no. It's like in intuition or whatever. They didn't get told on how to build a sod hut. When my great grandfather came here, they just did it on their own. You know, there was no books. So that comes from experience. And Dick is a really good example. He comes on Larry's channel. He always came on the Lodge channel, and he didn't get that experience till he went and asked somebody without a book to come and show him how to do it. So that piece of paper is applicable to all this stuff. And it's not individuals can do a lot, but they're together when we go in solidarity and unite and go for a common cause. We, the people, are unstoppable. And that's where the love, the harmony, that was expressed in Ottawa. And that's why they had to shut it down, because it wasn't about violence or, you know, that's what they wanted. They wanted that. The government wanted that from us, but they didn't get it. They got love, harmony, bouncy castles, feeding the homeless. There was so much food in Ottawa. It was crazy. Nobody went hungry. The homeless were great, happy people. The businesses got shut down because of the government. It wasn't the truckers. Right?
Ideas are what
that's
changes the
huge.
world, and an idea never comes from a we. An idea always comes from one individual. And the ideas are what changes the world, and what lasts.
Can I say a quote here from
Sure.
Ayn Rand? She's one of my most favorite philosophers.
It's not. Let me guess. It's don't let anybody tell you that a small group of individuals can't change the world, because the only thing that's ever changed the world is a small group of individuals. Something to that matter. Something to that.
No.
Don't let anybody tell you that a small group of individuals can't change the world, because that's the only thing that ever changed the world was a small group of individuals. Is that the quote you're going to say?
No, it's got more about. Now you made me lose my train of thought, but it was more to do with what we were just talking about. Well, I'm sorry because
it's all right. I get you.
It's another quote from Ayn Rand. It lost my train of thought there. Sorry about that. But it was more about.
I'll get it for you. I just paraphrase it and use different wording.
I know. I knew the quote.
It's the same thing. I'll get it for you.
Reality, but you won't be able to ignore the consequences of reality. That's one of her favorites. It's on the tip of my tongue and I can't say it. And it's my most favorite quote from Ayn Rand.
Is it any group of collective or large group is the only number of individuals? That one?
No, it's not that one.
No, it's this one. I got it for you right here. Don't even worry. I got you. You can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality.
Yeah. No, it's not that one. That's the second one. I've memorized that one before.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
it's
I was close.
I can't say, but maybe we should go because you probably got stuff to do, Moose. And thank you. I'm sorry if this is me.
Don't be sorry.
This is the person.
No, don't be sorry, dude. This is good.
Really
this was good.
It's we, the people that change. It's individuals that come up with the idea, but then they have to work as a collective to get that idea established. And that's what happened in 1776. And then in the United States Constitution, sure, we weren't there, and the founding fathers were slaves. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that shit happened. I'm not denying that. We just got to accept these simple facts that we're all being played. We're all pawns. And if you want to be played, you get played. If you don't want to, Yurt was saying, I like tyranny. Hell no. That's totally opposite of what I'm about.
I don't think he said that.
We're coming to that precipice point all over the world. Like, look at what happened in Sri Lanka. They chased their government out. Brazil, Ireland right now there's going to be conflict there. With the white Irish folk are not liking with all these immigrants coming in that are fighting age males. They're not bringing in families into Ireland. They're bringing black young males that are at fighting age, combat
But
age.
there we are, the black again. That's the thing I have a problem with.
I have a problem with that too.
I'm not being racist. I'm just stating facts, Moose. Come on, I'm not being racist, buddy. I'm not.
Sure sounds like it.
It's a fact. This is a fact, though. That's what you people think racism is that when you get told the fact, your first thing that comes to your mind is, oh, that person's racist or anti-Semitic. But you know, one of the biggest slave sellers in southern United States, southeastern corner, was a Jew. This is history fact. One of the very first people that bought slaves was a black plantation owner. That's a fact. But that bothers you. And the first thing that comes out of your mind is, oh, you're a racist because you're stating facts. Why were the United States Marines created?
You're going to tell us, right?
Well, I'm not going to give you my opinion. I'm going to state the facts. It was to combat the Islamic State that was interfering with the trade routes with American trade. And the United States Marines were created. And that's why that song says that they went all the way to Tripoli to prove their point.
Some of the greatest people I ever met were Muslims.
Yeah, they're good folks. Hey, they give us lots, man. They give us alcohol that we can drink, algebra, arithmetic. Anything that begins with an A, just about the Muslims give us. Islam. That's all. That's just how it is. I don't have nothing against them. I'm all for peace, love, and harmony and uniting. We, the people, have a certain cause, a goal to make sure everybody's fed, has clean drinking water, and I'm not talking socialism, but idle hands, idle mind. Sure, you got to do something. You got to grow the garden, raise your chickens. You're going to love those chickens, Moose. They're going to become your pets, and you're going to fall in love with them, right?
Yeah.
And that's,
I'm not gonna be slaughtering them either.
yeah.
But
Well,
that's
those
just
laying
me.
hens you shouldn't because they're so tough. But you should get a couple broilers, like 6 broilers. I know you only want 4, so you don't need much of a chicken tractor and keeps the feed down. But home raised chicken is delicious. Oh,
I
Ducks are
don't
way
think I could
cooler,
do
by
it.
the way. Ducks are way cooler. They have more
yeah,
work, but they're
yeah.
smarter
I don't.
and
Yeah,
they're a pleasure to
they're
be around.
beautiful animals. Yeah, they're
That's
But
what I
beautiful.
have.
do ducks eat ticks though? Is the question.
Yeah, they do. They
They
eat.
do. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because our
Ducks
tick population is through the roof,
insane, right?
dude. Every single day the dog comes in, and it doesn't matter whether she's been walking on the grass or not. She has ticks on her.
Wow.
Before the pandemics, we had a really bad infestation in Saskatoon, and there was ticks on asphalt. And I don't know how they live on them, but I walked on asphalt, and I come home, and what the hell? I had probably 6 ticks I pulled off, and there's probably 8 more on my jacket. And I was on asphalt.
I've never seen a tick in my
God, man.
life.
You never seen a
You're
tick?
you're lucky, dude. You're
And I
really
spend
lucky because they're
all my
scary.
time. I spend a lot of time in the forest and in nature, and I don't know. Maybe they just don't like me or something. I've never had a tick on me, around me. I never seen one in my life. I seen pictures of them. I know all about Plum Island and all that shit, but I never ever seen a tick. But I know I did research that, like, farmer friend of mine was telling me that ducks eat ticks. So that's all I know. Yeah, but ducks are great. That's what I have. I have 8 ducks, and I hatch my own ducks, breed my own ducks.
That's pretty awesome. That is
Easy.
You
pretty
can eat
awesome.
their eggs. Do you eat their eggs?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're bigger,
supposed to be really good.
be really healthy, and they
Yeah.
taste the same. They're just bigger.
Ducks, I find duck greasy.
I don't
Like
eat
it's a little,
duck. Well, I have, but I don't
yeah,
kill ducks. I just raise them and hatch them.
sorry, I
When
should
you
be
say they're
careful
more
with
work,
it.
though, that's when it turns me off
Yes,
because like
more work.
having to work the hotel and stuff, I don't have time.
Right.
I literally don't have time, and it sounds like a cop out, but
No,
I got to work all day, 7 days
right.
a week. So
They're a lot of work because you have to. They're waterfowl more so than chickens, so you always have to fill up the pools, empty the pools, whatever you have,
and they make
are
a mess
on.
of the pool, right?
They make a mess. They're really messy. The water's everywhere. Yeah, they're hard. They're a lot of more work than chickens, but I'm blessed to have that ability to spend more time and working at it. So for me, it's a pleasure, and they give me a lot of joy in my life. I really love
Most
I think
critters
that's
do.
amazing, dude. I
it.
think that's so amazing, man. And the chickens that I want them to be able to like roam freely on the property because we drive down the highway to get to town, and I look over to the left and there's chickens just running around in the lady's front yard, and I keep asking my wife because my wife had chickens when she was young. I'm like, hey, why do they just let their chickens run wild? Are they gonna like jump in the street and get ran over, or you know? And she's like, no, they know where the food is. They're not going nowhere.
Yeah, everybody here has where I live in my community has chickens that just go wherever, and my neighbors and stuff, and they never go out in the road. I always think like, are these guys gonna go out in the road? But they never do. They
Yeah.
just stay around their area. Saying that though, my neighbor just had one of his chickens eaten by a dog that always gets off the leash here last 2 weeks ago, which is I don't know. There's a lot of hawks too.
That's kind of brutal. That's the one thing she warned me about. She's like, I hope you're ready to like clean up a chicken with its head cut off because
Yeah,
it happens.
I stay out all day with my ducks when they're out free ranging. I'm out with them,
Yeah.
and they've become aware that if they see a hawk, they'll go into their netted area.
Hmm.
They'll just go right in when they see them. Plus, I do a whistle, and if I see the hawk first and I whistle, they'll go right in by themselves. They're smarter than
Oh
dogs.
man, that's cool. That
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah, they're great. I love them. I'm gonna go check them now when we get off the stream, just to
Yeah, I guess I should let you guys go because we've been on here for an hour and 43 minutes according to this. And
Yeah.
see
Hey,
what your quotes.
Patriot. I just want to let you know that I had no hard feelings, brother, and that I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I just am trying to, because I am a kind of person that wants solutions to everything. And so if I don't see like a solution that we're coming to, or like I don't see like a checkpoint I'm getting to, I feel like I'm just like running in the hamster wheel. And so I'm gonna like sit here and ruminate on what we talked about today, and we could always come back to it, and maybe I'll have something more profound to say or some kind of something else. That's all I'm saying.
But I don't have any hard feelings. Anything you said, I've heard.
Well,
You know,
I,
I
I
like
don't
it.
usually. I like the criticism and the arguments because it helps me learn. Because, like I say, the point of argument is supposed to be progress. And if we don't do this argument to go in progress, then all we're trying to do is win over each other. I don't have an ego, man. I just want us to be better. I want the best for Moose's granddaughter. That's going to be coming here in probably about 30 years, right? 25 years, 20, 18 years.
Bro, she's not
Don't
even
do
10
that as
months
a
old.
country,
Let her grow.
hey, that's coming, man. You're gonna have young boys coming over, banging on the door. Hey, where's little Miss Moose? Can she come out? You don't know what you're in for, buddy, but that's part of the cycle, right? But
It's part of life.
it's not that I'm saying the individual's bad, but it's the group that makes change. And not to be re-looping, but no change happened after St. Louis and Missouri. And if we could have got them people to do what happened in Ottawa in 2017, could you imagine how far the world would be more ahead instead of us what we did do or what would happen there, hey? That part of his
Yeah.
story. If we could have just came together and say, yeah, this is getting out of hand. The cops are killing people. And I'm not picking any race or skin color. They are killing people. This is a fact, right? So we should be uniting on stopping that from happening instead of burning down businesses and that. And if we could have did what happened in Ottawa and St. Louis in Minnesota, or in St. Louis and in Minneapolis, sorry to keep saying Missouri, but we would have changed already. The precipice would have been on our side instead of on their side right now. There would have been less sudden deaths, all that. If that peace and love and harmony and unity and solidarity came together at that time in 2017, wow, we'd be so much further ahead. So much. But it didn't happen. And now it is. It took, unfortunately, happened in Canada. And it took the world to see what happened in Canada. It was peaceful, loving. We, the people, wanted change. And the government couldn't handle that. There's some kind of psychological effect that's been proven. And that's why they called the Emergency Act, because it was spreading globally, and it did. It went internationally, all over the world. Peace, love. Come on, governments, smarten up, but they didn't listen. This is where the precipice point coming to when the people, we can only tolerate so much tyranny. And we're just about there. Once everybody finds out of all what's happened in the last 2 years, they'll be picking up bricks. And I don't blame them. And then we know, I agree with that billionaire. The result will be a new world order, because this is all planned and scheduled, just like they planned to put the bricks in St. Louis and Minneapolis. They weren't expecting that in Ottawa, though. They were expecting violence, and it didn't happen. And I really wish that would have happened in 2017 in the United States. I wish we could have harmonized and stopped what was going on. But it didn't turn out that way. It was planned. It was orchestrated perfectly, just like it was just orchestrated like a symphony. The government knew that there was going to be a huge conflict, and the mainstream media publicized this, but they didn't publicize all the white people getting shot by the cops. They did not one story on the mainstream. It was only, and it's bad that black guy died for selling cigarettes. That's just crazy. And that happens, that's, we have to stop this. It can't be one person. One person won't stop what they've already got going. It's just not going to, we can individualize all we want, but it's not going to be done by one person unless Yeshua comes back. Then it's a whole different ball game, right?
I totally disagree, but that's going to be a long conversation, and I'm not going to hold Moose any longer. I totally disagree, but
on everything I said, you disagree.
I'm not going to bother.
ERM.
No, I agree with a lot. I agree with some points, and there's a whole bunch. You brought up a lot of different things, and I disagree with a whole bunch of them. But I'm not going to go through them all individually and argue against them. You can believe whatever you want. I can only control myself. I can't control my neighbor, and I know that if I am an example to my neighbors will then use their control of their bodies to do different. And I've seen it. So to say that one person can't change the world, and the world is really only what I see. I'm not in China or in Minneapolis, and I'm not going to be able to stop anything that happens in those areas. And I don't trust anybody to even get into a group anyway. You're only strong as your weakest link, and I'll just rather stand alone by myself than stand with other people. And no offense to anybody.
Yeah, well, you can abnorm not to just. I see that as you ignoring reality in your own little world, and then you're still not going to be able to outrun the consequences of you ignoring reality.
I'm not trying to outrun. I'll stand right there and die right on the fucking ground.
You're right in your own little world, though. You don't care what happens in China. You don't care what happens down in Mexico or
I care, but I can't change it. How am I going to change it?
That's not my point. Don't take my words out of context, please.
Okay. All right. We'll just clarify your context.
I never said that.
All right, we're going to table this one. We're going to table this one for another discussion. Is that cool?
Yes.
Yeah.
That way, because like we'll come back to this and it'll give us all time to think about it. And then you'll be able to articulate a little better, Patriot. Abnormal get to think about it while he's out there with his ducks. Do you pet your ducks, by the way?
Oh, yeah. I pet my ducks all the time. Yeah, I love my ducks.
I can't wait. Can't wait to be hanging out with the chickens, man.
Yeah.
So ERM came up here and I feel like I'm rude. I didn't mean to keep you sitting there, dude. What's going on? You were saying.
Good. I'm just hanging out. I just wanted to hop on before the stream ended. I know that you've been have one foot out the door for a little bit here. I don't want to keep you on too, but I just wanted to say, hey, I know I've been, I found your channel through. I actually found your channel when you hopped into one of the Larry's streams, and I was like, oh, that's Moose. I've heard your name here and there, and I've seen you in chats and stuff, but I just wanted to come and say, hey. You're talking about chickens and ducks, and that I relate to that. I got a bunch of chickens and one duck right now, but I wanted to extend the offer too. If you're looking for a rooster, I know when you get up here in Maine, you can get a rooster anywhere. But if you want one of our roosters, we got 6 1-year-olds. We hatched them ourselves last year. It's the first time we hatched our own chickens. We did. An incubator for a couple, and then some of them happened naturally, so that was cool. And if you ever need a rooster when you get up here, let me know. I'll hook you up with a couple.
Where are you at?
I'm down near Portland.
Oh, okay. So you're on the way home. Okay.
Yep. If you're driving anyway. If you're flying, probably not. Probably a little out of the way because you probably fly into like Bangor or whatever. But
it's a long drive. We're driving all the way back from here. So
what kind of roosters? What kind of roosters?
So we've got initially our first rooster was a silver lace Wyandotte, and then that mated with all of our hens. So we have Americanas, Comets, Barred Rocks, Golden Lace. We have a whole bunch. So they're all just kind of a mix of that. So I think most of our roosters that we have are actually a mix of a silver lace Wyandotte with Americana.
Cool.
So they're cool birds. We call them the Dickhead Committee. So we got 6 of those.
Oh man. Oh, see, that's the thing is I have a hotel, right?
No, I don't. So is that where you are now?
I run a hotel. No, not now. It's it opens up in May 1st. So I don't know if I could have a rooster because if the rooster's loud and obnoxious, I might get in a lot of shit from my wife about waking up the guests.
Yeah.
So
best to just stick to hens then.
Okay. All right. Knowing that you have a rooster though means that there's more chickens on the way, and that means that shit does hit the fan. You're going to be a good resource, and we could possibly barter and trade to kind of get me some more chickens if something happens.
So typically we try to get like 6 to 8 new birds every spring. But last year was the first year
Okay.
that we didn't buy any. We just we made our own. And the intent was like, if we're gonna hatch like 12 eggs, chances are we're gonna get at least 6 roosters, but probably more. And I've never butchered our birds, but that was kind of the intention. Like if we get roosters, we'll just, we'll learn how to do that. And I just been kind of kicking that can down the road because it's not something I'm really interested in. I don't really want to kill things, but at the same time, it's like, that's life. It's a skill that I do need to learn how to do. But my, my intention was like, all right, well, I'll take the nasty ones first. When I go in and the one that, jumps at me and attacks me, that'll be the one that goes. But they're all so friendly and they're all so nice. It's like, oh, I can't kill you guys.
Damn. Damn. That's the hard part. Like, I don't know if I could do that, dude. Like, a lot of people say they could, they keep their chickens for meat or whatever. And it's like, I don't know, man. I could never see myself eating my pet.
I don't want to. I can see myself doing it and getting over it, but it's been a long process for me. Like, cause I mean, me and my wife, just a couple of years back, we were eating vegan and so we just started eating meat again. And, I did it because I'm a type 1 diabetic and, it just kind of led me down the path of healthier eating. It wasn't this, and it worked, it was great, but we've been adding meat back into our diet. And I'm like, if we're going to be buying chicken, we might as well be doing our own chicken. There's no difference really. It's just, and I would rather be conscious of what's actually happening rather than just blindly buying something that's been done for me. I feel like knowing the process and being part of the process is part of the process, So.
Well, I'm going to take off, guys. Moose, I just wanted to really
I gotta go too,
stop
folks.
in and
Great discussion
say hey
today.
and everything.
Thank you, Norm. Hey,
God
good
bless.
to hear about your roosters. I think, Moose, you should get a rooster and see if maybe do a poll, Moose, and see if your future guests would like to be woken up with a rooster. Because maybe some people might just come there to get woken up by a rooster.
At 6 in the
Like
morning.
you hear that chicken in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. They might just go to your hotel just to get woken up by a darn rooster because it's different. And they like chicken. You never know. You just never know. It might be a huge niche. It could be a really good niche. It could be the only
I'm gonna
hotel
charge them more
that,
for if you want the
for wake up
cabin.
service.
Yeah, you want the cabin that's closest to the rooster. You're gonna have to pay like $20 extra.
You never know. And you can always give the rooster back. I'm sure Erm there would take the rooster
You
back.
can't give a rooster back, dude. Dude, I read online that once you take the rooster, then there ain't nobody taking that thing back.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a wild one. Like it's got some.
But my daughter just woke up, guys, and I have a responsibility, so I do gotta go. ERM,
Adios.
I hope we talk soon. Patriot, I hope we talk soon. Abnorm, I appreciate you, brother. And I'll see you guys soon. Love you guys.
Have a good one. Nice to chat.
Nice to chat.